Evan said, "Pull the lever, Kronk."
Hell yeah.
Okay. Anything special today?
No, I don't think so. Just a normal Friday. Just a normal Friday.
All right. Well, I think genuinely stretching. This is a reflection of like how, I think our podcast is a living embodiment of everything's changed, but nothing's changed.
Mhm.
No secret is 100 episodes, so that means being that's Hyperspace Hype, we got to play the intro. So I think for you and me, let's have a nice little watch through of our classic intro.
Let's do it. Oh boy.
Let's make sure it's all good.
Whew.
Watch it.
I miss Solo.
Well, Orlando's coming, I guess.
Fair.
Can you hear me good over this?
Yep, you're good.
Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Hyperspace Hype. Welcome to another episode of Hyperspace Hype.
Wow.
Very excited, as always, to be chatting more Star Wars with all the crew. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 20
Where are your glasses
of
at?
Hyperspace Hype. Welcome
They
to
reflect.
episode 25 of Hyperspace Hype. We are a quarter away to the 100 episode special,
Your hair.
wherever that's going to be. Welcome to Hyperspace Hype, episode number 30. Welcome back
This
to
is great.
Hyperspace
Whoa.
Hype, episode number 40. We're back with our 50th anniversary, not even, episode of My Cup of Tea. No, it's not. It's Hyperspace Hype. We've been doing so many My Cup of Teas in a row and have so little hyperspaces. Like, this has become bi-weekly even. Yeah, we're back with episode 60 of Hyperspace Hype. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode number 70 of Hyperspace Hype. 70.
Holy shit.
Wow. We've been going for almost 3 years. Jesus Christ.
And that was 70.
I've been doing that for 3 years. Fuck.
We're still not at 100. Something's on. Hyperspace Hype, episode number 75. Episode number 80 of Hyperspace Hype. Finally hit that threshold, baby. Only 20 more before we're canceled. Episode number 90 of Hyperspace Hype. We've officially crossed the 90 threshold. Only 10 more. Until something. Join me, Evan.
Wow, only 10 more until 100, you said?
Yeah, until we can retire.
Oh boy, yeah. Until we're done, no more podcasts. Fuck Star Wars. You can finally move on to what I've been proposing, which is a Willow podcast. I know you're still warming up to it, but I think we should talk more about it off air.
Just
Ladies and
mentioned it. Wow.
gentlemen, this is episode number 95 of Hyperspace Hype.
Was it yesterday?
Getting up there. Welcome to episode number 96. We still haven't hit that threshold. We've been breezing on T.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, T, we hit the 100 meter. I've been watching a lot of track and field this week.
Evan,
Alive. We're back.
we're back with episode number 97. Hyperspace Hype. Put your hands together, everybody.
This is amazing.
Thank you.
Woo!
Welcome back to episode number 98 of Hyperspace Hype. We're almost there.
We're gonna make episode 100 at Ahsoka episode 6 if we stick to our guns.
Whoa!
That should be exciting.
Episode 100 is like, oh, we did, oops, episode 79.
I know, right?
Evan.
Boom. On sync. Perfect. That's how we do it.
All right. What Canon has now made one of the saddest numbers. Evan, we are on episode number 99.
Oh boy. Wow. You're right.
We got Evan.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's been a pretty slow week for Star Wars, but I'm very
Oh my
excited
gosh.
about
What are you
Clone
showing
Wars
me?
and everything going
Every
on with
saga
the
has a
Star Wars
beginning.
novels. A lot of WTF.
What are you
to say the
showing
least.
me?
Hey guys, how's
Stop
it going? Yeah, we have a lot of news to talk about. Yeah, I'm very excited. Had a pretty good day today, so I'm pumped up. Some Star Wars. Yeah, I'm excited
own
to talk
apartment.
about,
Oh,
the
shit.
craziness, the
My Raylo
weirdness.
poster.
Everyone, glad to be back. I'm
Oh,
hyped.
wow.
Also joining us in this costume.
What's going on, guys? I am reunited with my Star Wars while hosting these beautiful posters. Excited to be back for
Calling them
night
out.
2 of the podcast. Our Star Wars fandom is coming back alive in us. The Mando season 2 got us down. We've been down. It was
Broke
back
me.
to back.
we were in the bad days with
I don't have
Mando
any clever
season.
nicknames this week. Yeah,
Better
ready
game
to
than
talk about
point,
Bob.
Bob A. Fett.
Bob episode 2. What happened to Kenobi? Oh yeah.
What?
I'm kidding.
I just finished the episode.
I'd be like, Nathan, take him out.
Yo, we made it.
Kenobi.
Great, intense. Deborah Chow does not miss.
It feels so cohesive.
She doesn't.
With actually, like I can feel like with one person trying to do what they want to do.
What a time.
We were raving about Kenobi. That was
Are
crazy.
we doing Survivor first or back?
Let's do Survivor first.
Who got voted off this week?
Finale. Survivor 43 finale. Oh my god.
It's already finale. You just had a finale. It's celebration.
Romeo, no! Mary didn't play her idol? I'm shocked.
I love it.
Oh, that's amazing.
That was my dad's favorite. I knew she was to win the game. I'm right again.
I did, yes. That was in April. Hello, guys. Nathan.
Editing
We're
on
here.
point.
Yeah, what's going on?
Are we gonna do our introductions? Are we gonna do that? Are we
He's
just gonna-
busy
Yeah, let's-
Crash Bandicooting. He can't.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? Fucking.
Yes.
I am playing Crash Bandicoot.
Carson made it into the thumbnail with his
What days we played
Trailer
Spider-Man?
reaction
Bring
that-
that
Trailer
back.
reaction face.
Skeleton.
I was just looking
All
at
of
that.
Oh my god, 2019. Holy shit.
You're going ham.
Nathan's OG video. My Raylo heart right there. Oh, that's
Bro.
terrible. That's terrible. Carson's face. Oh yeah. Nathan, come on. Roll it again. Why? That never gets old.
Man,
That's a
video that
Change
was
the
that-
world.
Well,
Holy shit, Nathan! How long have you been working on that? That was amazing.
today. And
No
I
way. No way.
I started downloading some stuff last night because
Okay.
downloading 2-hour plus videos each is difficult.
We go on for a long time.
Trying to comb through, trying to stay like coherent with round numbers. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Quite the journey it has been. We are going on nearly 4 years.
Stop it. I mean,
Nearly
geez.
since 2019, 4 years. We have done. This was our kickoff, but we did 100 episodes of My Cup of Tea. We have done 110 plus at this point commentaries.
Wow.
And this is now our 100th episode of Hyperspace Live. So we have done well over 300 streams.
And there's never a day where I didn't come on, I think, or you didn't come on, I think. We've been here every single episode, nearly. Unless I'm forgetting something out my ass. I don't know. Wow. Thanks, Jalen. My bro. 100 episodes. That is insane. Since 2019. We've done all the Star Wars shows. Disney should be paying us. I mean, they can't pay their freaking writers and actors. That's a different story.
We have literally covered every Star Wars show. Never mind the
Yeah.
lost levels of Mando Season 1.
Mando Season 1. Yeah, exactly. We were here seeing that clip of Carson talking about our dark days of being what do you even call it? Being depressed about Mando Season 2 when everybody else is just like, this is the best thing ever, Ahsoka.
Yeah, we were like, what have we become?
What
Do I like it anymore? Where am I? I was in, me, I was in
Yeah.
mortem. I was depressed as hell about why don't I like this anymore?
There was dramatic shift, I think, halfway through Mando season 2, where I'm just like, oh, I don't like the direction this is going. Then, we had Book of Boba Fett, we had Kenobi, we did all of Andor together, we did all of Bad Batch season 1, all 20 something episodes of Bad Batch season 1. There are some days where we did like 3 episodes at a time for season 1 and season 2, because they are shorter episodes. But it was great covering. We covered Star Wars: The Clone Wars season 7. That came back during our time doing Hyperspace type.
That was some of our first stuff. We were in the second clip I showed was from our 10th episode. We were already covering season 7 at that point.
Exactly. Wow. And then we were here for both seasons of the new Star Wars Visions. That was a blast to watch. We did a commentary for season 1, and we did a discussion for season 1 and season 2. I would love to do a commentary of season 2 because I have not rewatched the episodes actually. Besides the Irish one that I love, I forget what it's called now.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my gosh, this is going to be a great 100th episode. I can't believe we've been doing this for so long. It's funny. I just started podcasting because of Star Wars. My first podcast was a Stupendous Wave, who still makes great videos, by the way. Doing, Star Wars stuff over there, talking about Rebels, Clone Wars, battles, and etc. And that was like 2017. No, that was 2016, because I remember we were going to do a podcast about Rogue One that never came to be because it was Rogue One. But 2017, 2018, I was like, I wish I could podcast, because I was deep in the fandom at that point with The Last Jedi, the lead up to The Rise of Skywalker. And then, Nathan came along and we're like, let's do it. Let's do it. And then we've stuck to each other ever since. And it's been great. It's been amazing. I can't wait. And this episode of Ahsoka, holy shit. There's going to be a lot to get into. Is this going to be our 3-hour episode for the 100th episode? Maybe
10 hours. Can you imagine?
I got nowhere to be tomorrow. We're stuck in here for the long haul. Come on.
Stuck in here with me. Oh man.
The Joker clap.
It wasn't Joker though.
Yeah, 2 DC stuff.
But yeah, do we want to get into Ahsoka? Do we want to talk more about our time with
the
podcasts? What should we
do? I mean, that's pretty much it for the podcast. I think I'll say some things at the end as well as more things come to mind.
You don't recall the many moments?
But, in general, there's a big elephant in the room. No Carson, but Carson was amazing as a co-host as well over the 3.5 years of doing this. I mean, he was here earlier this year. 2023 has been a long year. Holy shit.
He has, like, let us not forget, he has been with us all the way up to episode number 84.
Wild. Yeah.
And he's been, I've said many times before, both you and him are the most articulate people that have been on this podcast. Because I am no Jedi. So
you're a writer.
Yeah. Outcast, one might say. But yeah. All of his time has been so wonderful. All the time with everybody here has been wonderful. Especially, trying to highlight everybody in this video. I was under a crunch, so it doesn't even scratch the surface. All the fun moments, and I would especially say if you would like to have a big in-depth of camaraderie, I do recommend going to check out the farewell episode with Carson on episode number 84. Which was just a wonderful encapsulation of our times on the show, and we'll still be given some refreshers this time, but if you want just a full scale after this and you want to jump into others, over 100 episodes of just Star Wars alone you can check out.
Agreed. Again, Carson was here doing all those commentaries through the grueling Alien and Predator commentary saga, which was 13, 14 movies, whatever that was.
Yeah.
And then now we're doing all the Saw movies. It's just, we've been through a lot of commentaries together, a lot of Micah Batiz together. More to come soon in following weeks. But yeah, Hyperspace Hype has been the lifeblood of this podcast, of this whole channel, really, because it's where we all started. We love Star Wars, and I get reminiscent of what we did. We talked about, I think it was last week's episode or episode 4, one of those episodes of Ahsoka, where we're like, this is why I love Star Wars. There's so much to get into with Star Wars. You can talk about one thing and start going into a different tangent on something else. And that's like the beauty of Star Wars. And we've talked about a number of different things, characters, events, lore, deep dives. You have it with Star Wars, even outside of the TV shows that we've been doing mostly discussions on. There's so much to love about Star Wars, and there's so much to talk about with this channel, with this podcast, Hyperspace Hype. I loved it. It's great. I mean,
Loved. It's over.
I loved it. It's over. It's a wrap. This is the last episode. Screw
Rise of
Ahsoka.
Willow, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Screw Ahsoka episode 7 and 8. We don't need it. Yeah, I'm kidding. But anyways, yeah. This has been fantastic, and again, I wouldn't be podcasting if it wasn't for Star Wars. I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for Star Wars. I love Star Wars, so there's always going to be a lot to talk about.
Well, I'm happy I could invent Star Wars for us.
Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you wrote all the movies, so yeah, exactly.
I did. I wrote it down.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need. That's all the proof you need. I drew Revenge of the Sith when it came out, like from memory on paper, and now I'm here making a show, and I'm dying.
It's crazy. Just going back to in the clips that you showed, going back to the Rise of Skywalker reaction, that was before we all did the podcast, right?
That was before the podcast. I believe that's like where I was properly introduced to you.
That was the first time seeing each other in 2019 Chicago.
Chicago,
right?
yeah. Which we were like very like briefly interacted in group chat.
DMs, yeah.
Very brief.
That's wild. Uh-huh.
But and then but I remember by the time of like the final day of Chicago, hanging around in vlogs and saying goodbyes and stuff.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, you guys were great. It was amazing. Yeah, we grew close in Chicago, and then of
we
course,
went to the infamous Bubba Gump shrimp twice.
I still have not gone back to a Bubba Gump shrimp. There used to be, I think there's one in Cincinnati, and now it's just whatever.
It is funny to think the year of 2019 was the year of the Bubba Gump. 2022 being the year of the IHOP. What will the next potential celebration bring?
You mean Denny's? The iconic
No. Because let it be known, we went to Denny's once. Awful. Undercooked. Sadness. Sausage was undercooked. Of all things undercooked, I don't think that one should have been the end.
It was weird because I think Denny's was mostly like a novelty kind of thing, because it's one of those things where you hear about Denny's all the time. I've never gone to Denny's. Like, well, okay, it's breakfast food. I like breakfast food. It's like
it's
11. It's midnight. Let's go here. Let's see what happens. Awful, expensive as hell too. It just wasn't great.
It's weird because like I've been to Denny's in the past and I had plenty of good time there. It's just whatever this one was on that day, wasn't it?
They weren't having it, no. But here's
I think we went to IHOP 4 times.
Yeah, IHOP we did. Yeah, we went to IHOP a lot. At least 2 to 3 times. But here's to getting Nathan to Japan 2025. Let's go.
Nani? I want to. I want to believe.
It's still crazy. It's either that or get a PS5. Whichever one.
Yeah, that equates in the price.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, and from the clip that I showed, I love in your reaction to Survivor. I always say it's my favorite thing where like you were like I'm shocked, and you lay on the bed, and within 1 second get immediately back up. Nothing has changed. Nothing else happened. You just were like.
That's so embarrassing.
Amazing.
Usually my Survivor excitement and euphoria is not seen on camera. I'm a mess when it comes to surprise Survivor evictions and vote outs, and That was a fun finale. That was one I was hoping would happen, and then it's funny. We saw a clip of the Survivor 43 finale. Nathan makes a joke about, oh, didn't you just finish another Survivor? And now Survivor comes back next week in a matter of 4 days for Survivor 45, which I'm fully excited for, and Amazing Race as well. So holy shit! Yeah,
Wow.
it never ends. Survivor is going to be an ever-present part of this podcast, of this channel. Yeah.
We ought to do a Survivor podcast.
We have to. There's only like one person in my life who also watches like Big Brother or Survivor, like besides my family. And it's just I need more people. I need a podcast. I need to talk about something because I have thoughts. But anyways, are you ready for some Ahsoka?
No, let's just keep. Yeah. Eventful.
Eventful as hell, and holy shit. We're in a new galaxy. I was telling Nathan this off stream. I might have said it in the past 20 minutes or so, whatever. This is the most notes I've taken for an episode in quite some time. There was a lot of questions that I had, not even a lot of thoughts, just questions and thoughts, of course, about each of the events in this episode, some of the dialogue. Overall thoughts, though, I thought this was a very solid episode of Ahsoka. There continues to be small, I mean, not overly, bringing me down by the episode, but there still seems to be some like directorial production stuff that is lessening a little bit of the impact for certain moments. Like I think the Thrawn entrance was extra as hell. I loved it, but still some of the background stuff didn't really click for me. I wasn't like over the moon about his arrival as much as I should have. And then the Ezra stuff at the end, beautiful. As a Rebels fan, my smile was glued to my face. But I think his reveal could have been a bit more, could have been a bit better staged. I don't know what I'm talking about. It could have been better staged. There we go. He's out of focus. He gets in focus, and then it's just like it's a little awkward reunion. The dialogue's fine because that's who Ezra and Sabine are. They're awkward, young adults. But I think the execution of like the scene itself was a bit less dramatic and less interesting than I thought it was going to be. But I liked it because it's two of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars, top 10, reuniting, and that was sweet. So just a little bit of production stuff, but from the writing, from the character standpoint, Shin and Baylan continue to be easily the best parts about this series. I like Ahsoka. Ahsoka's great. I've seen her for 7 seasons. I grew up with Ahsoka in 2008.
You watched her be born at Celebration.
Exactly. At Celebration. I've been here for the long haul.
I watched her be born, and I'll watch her die.
Exactly.
Again.
Even though Filoni never wants that to happen, probably.
No, she's eternal.
Eternal, exactly. But Shin and Baylan, okay, it's ridiculous how great of original characters these are. The more Baylan and Shin talk about it, I'm just like, imagine a show if Disney was ballsy enough. Just
if Disney had a sack.
Exactly. If Disney was smart enough to just give me a Shin and Baylan show, if the World of Ahsoka never existed, if we never knew we were getting an Ahsoka show, oh wow. If Ahsoka never existed, and we never knew about Ahsoka was going to be.
Wait, can you clap your hands along with us?
Hello.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Say something.
Hello.
I think he's back.
Cool. Yeah, you buzz up. Just music has to reverberate. But Shin and Baylan would have been such an interesting Disney Plus show about a survivor of Order 66 crafting this relationship to a young Padawan who's not really from the Jedi Order at all, who's not familiar with Jedi, and then seeing Baylan kind of craft psychology or go through this arc of becoming a mercenary or whatever you want to call it. It's just whenever Baylan talks, I'm at the edge of my seat, and that was the same thing for this episode. I've always been wanting to see what his psychology was, his motivations. What does he want? What is his arc? And I immediately, as soon as the episode ended, I wrote down some quick thoughts about Balin's arc and how it connects to Ahsoka. Because that's been my thing since episode 1 and 2. This is since the premiere. I always knew that Ahsoka and Sabine were situated as parallels for Shin and Balin. I got Shin and Sabine pretty easily. They're two people who weren't familiar with Jedi Order. They never became official Jedi. How do they move along in this era with these newfound like ideals and relationships? How Sabine interacts as a Mandalorian, how Shin interacts as somebody who we don't really know, but we do know that she was never part of the official Jedi Order, like Sabine. But Ahsoka and Balin, I'm like, what is their connection outside of the master role? They're both masters. But I think, especially in this episode, we both know they left the Jedi Order, but the idea of what happened after leaving the Jedi Order, the events leading up to it, and what they got from the Jedi Order, very different and very interesting. And this episode really shined a light on it. Other overall general thoughts, red flags out the ass for Balin, unfortunately so. Again, rest in peace, Ray Stevenson. We know this character is probably clocking out by episode 8, the finale. But this episode, for the story-wise, is really putting the red arrows on Balin. Like, I can clearly see where his downfall may come from. There's a certain options are starting to rise above the rest for Balin. Shin is surviving this series. I was nervous earlier on about like what's going to happen with Shin, but I think I'm fully confident now that she will survive this series. There's a lot of opportunities arising for her to escape the series alive after this episode. And people might be asking, like, what did you see from the episode that I didn't? But it's like, there are certain things. I think Shin is still fully associated with Balin right now, but there's cracks beneath the armor, per se, for their relationship and Shin in general. What else here? I don't know. That was great. I mean, Ezra, I forget the actor's name, but he was amazing as Ezra overall. So yeah, overall, this was a very fun episode. 3 episodes in a row, 4, 5, and 6. Straight up great episodes. So I'm very happy again about the direction of Ahsoka. It's rising. It's not falling. It's just steadily rising. I'm having a fun time with it. Yeah.
No, yes. I agree. This has been a wonderful journey, this show. I love this show. Like you said, yeah, 4, 5, and 6 have been acing it. Again, yeah, Balin is he's cooking that Michelin star, man. He knows what he's doing. God damn it, he's so good. Yeah, I think there's especially there's a great line, especially with the journey of setting up for Shin, where she brings up like, did you know Ezra? He's like, no, he was too young. Comes from a breed of Boken Jedi, which is great terminology. Boken being the wooden swords that they Sabine and Ahsoka trained with earlier. Just basically, kind of like a home student-esque Jedi type. He's like, he was trained to be a Jedi. I trained you to be something more. Oh fuck! I love this, man.
Why are you talking in just tell me more? Tell me more. Tell me more.
Nice. And it's also because he likes the idea of the Jedi Order. I mean, Shin has a Padawan braid.
Exactly. That's so interesting. You think he did her hair?
Yeah. Like, you gotta cut that sauce, but like you gotta grab a specific strain and then just be like, all right.
Yeah.
But I love the whole idea there that like he's instilling so many Jedi methods in her upbringing, but then he's diverting away from that path at a certain point. And I would love to pick the brain of the character or the writers and just like what are the types of lessons he's really faced. Like, can you imagine if like we don't have time now, but like if we had an episode that was solely a take back of Shin and Balin, just like on their path to the events.
Right, that's what I'm saying earlier. Like, I want a TV show about them now, automatically, please. I think an episode would be nice. Again, just saying. But if this was animation and there was probably, instead of 8 episodes, double that, because, make it 16, we could have easily had an episode about Shin Balin, maybe a 2-part episode about Shin Balin pre-Ahsoka.
Maybe an episode of Tales of the Jedi in another season.
That's an easy get right there. Dave Filoni created Tales of the Jedi for Ahsoka and Dooku content. We can easily see that, extended to his other creation now in Balin and Shin. I would love that. I think also Disney really needs to, or Lucasfilm in general, needs to embark on what Marvel was doing with their like presentations. Granted, we only had it for Moon Knight, or not Moon Knight.
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night. I knew Night was in the title. Werewolf by Night. And next year we're probably getting the Agatha special Halloween thing coming along and cooking as well. But Star Wars can do that as well. Let's do a special about Balin and Shin. Let's do a special about certain story elements that are in their current live action shows. I mean, hell, I would love a special associated with Andor about like certain things there. Because there's a lot of Andor stuff that could be spread out as well. But anyways, man, yeah, so those are our overall thoughts. Were you finished, Nathan? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Let's start from the beginning. 31 minutes into the pod. Let's start from the beginning.
You mean to say we should start a long time ago?
In a galaxy far, far away.
But he said it.
That was cool. That was smart. That was cool. I really like that.
I love that because I feel like there's only one way you can say that, and it's in the term storytelling, which is what all these movies have been. They're like the start of reading a fairy tale. So coming from Hu Yang of all characters is probably the smartest choice. I love it. And I love that the episode is called Far, Far Away, literally going to a new galaxy. It's the most fitting thing ever.
100%. And I like seeing the different colors as well. Usually hyperspace is, as you see with our intro, blue and white most of the time. But this one had different colors. It was more like of an eclectic rainbow-ish kind of colors here for, I assume that was because they were going to a new galaxy. But I
imagine I imagine it was the speed at which they were traveling.
Okay,
because you could see it on the hyperspace ring cockpit as well.
Yeah, speed, new galaxy. So it was very cool just seeing a new version of hyperspace that we have not seen before. But immediately when I was taking notes, I'm like, okay, Ahsoka is very reminiscent. And I'm going to say this word a lot throughout this podcast because it associates with Ahsoka and Balin. Ahsoka is very reminiscent of the Jedi Order. Arrow, what's up, man? Hope you're doing great. Oh, we're watching Spiral tomorrow.
Yes.
At 9:30 EST. 9:30 EST for Spiral. Chris Rock.
PM.
PM, yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vietnam. So yeah, 9:30 p.m. EST. What's up, Arrow? Thank you for coming. Stick around for Star Wars. I like Star Wars. But
he's like, I'm more of a Trek guy.
I'm more of a needles and saws and getting flattened kind of guy. Anyways, Ahsoka is reminiscent of the Jedi Order, and this is very interesting because another character in Balin reminiscent as well throughout this episode. So Ahsoka and Balin are really connecting in this way here. But she's specifically talking about the history of the galaxy, and there's like 3 parts about the history of the galaxy. Ahsoka likes part 1. Don't know what that means.
The original trilogy is the best.
That could be a thing too, where it's like part 1. You're right. There's 3 parts: original trilogy, prequels, and sequel trilogy.
Please don't do this because I think back to that joke in X-Men Apocalypse where they walked out of Return of the Jedi. We can always agree the third movie's the worst, as they're in one.
I was like, that was awful. I hated that joke.
Didn't need to do that.
Did not need to do that. You're setting yourself up.
I don't care if there were people talking like that back then. You didn't just stop taking digs just to do it.
Just for no reason. And it's like, especially on Return of the Jedi? Seriously? Really? It was weird. But you know,
From the studio that made it.
The studio, the director of that movie, yeah, not great, Bob. So yeah, again, thematically reminiscent of the Past Order, ties directly to Balin. They both moved on. I mentioned this earlier, but they both move on from their past differently. Where Ahsoka reminiscent of the Jedi Order and the things she liked about it. She's very fond of the Jedi Order. And again, it's difficult because, you know, last week she's learning how to move past some of the failures of the Jedi Order, but she does have fond memories. And it's interesting because, I will tell you a shocking thing about Star Wars. I like it a lot. The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. Sorry, I know that's not a very popular opinion, it seems. Oh, yeah.
Good sir. We welcome you in open arms. You know, we have our issues with Tross, but that's because we love The Last Jedi so much.
But yeah, it's not uncommon that people who like The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, you know, just on this podcast, Nathan and I are not the biggest fans of Tross, but we love The Last Jedi. And Tross, yeah, it's Tross.
It's so funny. I remember back when I was working my first job, my boss who loves Star Wars came up to me and was like, you know, I watched the whole sequel trilogy back to back in succession. You know, everything like plays out so much more clearly. And I'm in my brain, I'm like, okay. All right. Whatever works for you.
If you say so. I think Force Awakens, Last Jedi play along so well, but Last Jedi to Rise of Skywalker is a bit of a, you know, discrepancy per se.
They kissed.
But I do. There are some things in Tross that I did clap at. The kiss, Reylo stuff in general was.
I was say you didn't have anything else.
The kiss. That's it. The water duel on the Death Star 2 is still pretty well staged. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I wish some of the dialogue was like similar from the trailer, or it's like.
I think it's a fun adventure overall, and I love the dynamic with the trio.
Right. I can't tell you.
They got Chewie. They got him. I've said this so many times. I love the scene where they think they blew up Chewie.
It's awful.
I don't think it's awful because yes, I know. Finn is screaming a lot in that scene, but I'm mainly talking about when Rey cries out. I'm like, I believe Daisy thinks she killed Chewie.
What have I done? God damn it, Rey! Fuck! No.
You always had that. Rey! No!
What did you do?
We ever gonna watch the
Oh my god. We're never watching that movie. I'm good.
When I tie you into doing the DC universe. It's over now. We have lead up Taco Man. We're gonna
honestly, if I'm going through like 9-10 Saw movies, I can probably do DC movies.
There's enough variety.
Yeah, there's enough variety there. Man, that's hilarious. But yeah, fuck, where was I? But yeah, Ahsoka has fond memories of the Jedi Order. We talked about how she has difficulties with the Jedi Order in last week's episode, where there's the pain of her experience as a Jedi, her experience of being trained as a Jedi soldier throughout the Clone Wars, and some of the mistakes her master made as Anakin. Said there's a lot of mistakes that he made as a master. There's a lot of great things he did as a master as well. But there's also great times with the Jedi Order, but then there was also failures that she experienced personally with the Jedi Order and why she left personally. All this pain, but she continues to have these fond memories, like what she's talking about with Hu Yang now. And in last week's episode, her main arc throughout the episode is understanding those failures, but realizing that she herself can rise above it. She doesn't have to carry on the past failures, the past fears of what she might become and how her relationship with others might be, you know, contributing because of her past failures and what her fears are, etc. She's risen above that. And she has these fond memories, and that's cute. That's cool. Balin, on the other hand, as we'll get into later on, he's reminiscent as well, but he completely wants to cut off any kind of ties with the Jedi Order and he mostly associates it with failure and incompetence, which isn't unfounded. But he seems to be more, in this way you get with the dark side, he seems to be more stuck on it than Ahsoka is, and in interesting ways. So yeah, that's generally what I took from it as well. But also, this scene might be my least favorite scene of the episode, primarily, maybe that's being a bit too harsh, but when Ahsoka starts talking about Sabine, I was a little bit taken aback when she's talking about Sabine's decision. So she talks about Sabine's decision. She says, I didn't tell Hera this, but I'm paraphrasing, of course, but she tells like Hu Yang, I didn't tell Hera this, but Sabine willingly went with them. And then Hu Yang says, oh, really? Really? Why? And then, she talks about Ezra and the map. And in general, the conversation flows in a way that she's thinking the decision is like selfish or like could have these ramifications, something that Thrawn mentions later on in the episode as well.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I thought we moved past that in last week's episode. I thought we moved past understanding that, like, yeah, similar to how Ahsoka's following the will of the Force, she got into a Pergil's mouth and she's like, wherever it takes us. I'm like, great, that's a great arc. Shouldn't you have that same trust with Sabine? And it was interesting that she's still having like these reservations with Sabine. And I thought the conflict was diminished after last week's arc, but it still seems to be simmering there for Ahsoka, where she doesn't think Sabine made she says this, where it's like, I don't think she made the right decision. And it has to rely on Hu Yang to be like, well, we all have different decisions or different opinions on what is right. And I'm like, yeah, Hu Yang's 100% right. Where it's just like, we all have different opinions on what is right. Why is Ahsoka so clearly saying Sabine might have made the wrong one? I thought we moved past that, Ahsoka.
Well, that's interesting. I actually kind of like this.
Okay.
Because I like that it got to the point where, Ahsoka is expressing her worry about this, and Hu Yang immediately like catches her in saying like that's your fear, and knowing the fear's the path, dark side, and everything. It's at that moment when he says that Ahsoka takes that moment to, it's essentially like don't dwell in worry. So she takes a step back from thinking that, oh, what if Sabine's going down a dark path, and instead tries to distract away from that, because that's not a confirmed concrete thing, so she doesn't let it overtake her mind. So she's like, okay, yeah, tell the story instead, take my mind away from this so I don't fixate and make a decision that can cost us.
Okay. Yeah, the more you talk about it, the more you're right. Yeah, she's pondering about it. There's still growth there. And yeah, it's kind of foolish to think like everything is cool after one episode, one experience in the world between worlds. And she still hadn't interacted with Sabine since episode 4. So I think once they interact, it'll be less conflicty than what I assume it could be. Because I figure like, you made the wrong decision. What's going on here? There's a threat. Thrawn can now destroy the galaxy. What did you do? But I think she's going to be more understanding of her decision, especially when Ezra's back in full form, whatever that may be, because there's a lot of questions there as well. But the rest of the episode, we venture away from our main character in Ahsoka and venture into the House of Villains. I'm kidding. As a House of Mouse reference.
Thank you.
Great show. Nathan, we make it to Peridia. I think Peridia is the name of the world or the Legion. Name of the world.
Peridia is the world.
Okay.
And it is
a lot of lore here.
An elephant graveyard. No, this is a cool reveal and beautifully told by Balin that it's a place where Purgle go to migrate to die. When they're about to die, they migrate here, which is a thing in real life. I said elephant graveyard jokingly, but like this real thing elephants do is like they go back to the lands they originated from when they're at the end of their lives. So Purgle traveling here, and the fact that the rings of the planet are the bones of Purgil madness.
So weird, so eerie, so ominous, and immediately
So
just from
metal.
this so metal, um, just from the setting alone, we know we're in for something again ominous and not right here in this world. But yeah, this was such a fascinating lore drop here. You know, Filoni was the one who really delved into, and Lucas, the idea of these Dathomiri witches throughout the Clone Wars. They were very pivotal to certain arcs, like the Maul, etc. And now seeing them back in action in live action, I thought Morgan was going to be, our only taste of Night Sister magic, wuha, whatever you want to call it. But no, Peridia is directly related to Night Sister magic, where Night Sisters are the first ones to ride the whales, and also lead to its destruction.
Right.
And again, seeing the husks along the atmosphere, along the rings around the world, was just so scary and creepy and just very cool.
It also
but
gets
they're all- yeah,
interesting because when you look back at the very first episode when Ahsoka enters that tomb where she finds the initial key,
for sure.
there are statues of Night Sister beings that are they're just like they're blank faced, they're calm. But when we go to Peridia, there we see giant statue towers of Night Sisters, but their like mouths are elongated and screams in this land, and it's like, God, where are we going?
It's so weird. And again, this is the home world of Dathomir, right?
I guess like the original homeworld. I guess Dathomir was a new settled planet.
Great point. Yeah. So yeah, the original, and then they migrated probably through the whales, maybe. So yeah, to our galaxy. But yeah, this was so interesting. And once we get down there, we get some big, and this is some high fantasy. And I mentioned this pre-podcast. This is some high fantasy Evan Core shit. I love this high fantasy setting. Nathan mentioned the screaming statues, the pillars, the gray drab like architecture, these sharp, tall buildings with a wasteland here. It's very fascinating. Hardly any sunlight to see at all throughout the episode. And we meet these three Night Sisters, immediately recall the famous book Macbeth or Hamlet. Macbeth. With the three witches, the three ideas of fates, and everything right there.
I have to agree with Jalen. I think that's what I was singing praises about last week, of why last week's episode is my favorite of any of these TV projects, is because I think it goes like so into the mythical force side of things that changes the inner soul of the character.
Exactly, and I still think Andor episode 10 is peak, but I understand why you love that one.
I agree. I love Andor. Don't be like Chad that's like, Nathan hates these three things. Today they did, and I like them all.
Seems like it really got to you, buddy. Yeah, I mean, Ahsoka so far is very good, very good. I don't think it's excellent yet, but I have to wait to see how episode 8 and 9 conclude for me.
Could you at least say your second favorite show?
Yeah. Right, but it's not hyper. I mean, sorry, Star Wars. I know we did all this talking about how we love Star Wars, but I'm like, the live action Star Wars shows haven't been like my favorite things ever. Now, if we're talking Bad Batch, Visions, and Clone Wars, that's different. Rebels, that's different.
Yes, animation is king.
King, yeah, exactly. But Kenobi was solid. Mando has been up and down. Book of Boba Fett was a show. And yeah,
we liked it more than others. What happened?
We did like it more than others, but I think Mando season 3, just reminiscing about Boba Fett makes me drop it down. And I'm still very critical of like how that whole no talk. And I was the one saying that he didn't talk for like 2 episodes. Remember where it's like you had a Mando episode and then something happened and then he rides a thing. There were some cool elements. I think the Boba and Cat stuff was cool to a degree. if they made it more focused on Boba and Cad's dynamic instead of just trying to make it a Mando show, whatever.
Which is funny because you were like, well, first off, you were very anti animation to live action. But then as soon as your boy walks along the horizon, you were over the moon.
Hey!
Jalen, back me up because I'm sure you both watched together. Wasn't he over the moon?
I didn't love his design, but yeah, I did love Cad Bane. Cad Bane transcends everything. Cad Bane's the best thing ever. So yeah, that was that. But I was very critical of Boba Fett because I feel like, in contrary to a lot of people, and this is why I liked it a little bit more than others, I think people were upset about Boba Fett because they wanted more Mando stuff. They liked what they got from the Mando stuff. They said it was their best episode, which is probably not wrong. Actually, the episode 2 is their best episode, or 3, whatever it was called, the Tusken Raider episode.
The one where he goes on the spiritual journey.
Exactly. If the show was like that, I would have loved it. But there's a couple episodes of meandering, and then finale about stuff that was just very undercooked. But in general, yeah, it's a fine show. Probably 5 out of 10. Yeah, again, I would say Ahsoka is definitely better than Mando season 3 and 2, on par with Mando season 1, but probably even above that now with characters like Shin and Balin. Again, without Shin and Balin, this show is like, it's good, it's solid. But with Shin and Balin, this show is great. But yeah, anyways, what I was talking about here was like these 3 Night Sisters, and the idea of the Night Sisters in general creates such an interesting presence moving into the end of this show, and especially in this episode alone. And I just have so many questions. It's so wow. Again, it's so high fantasy. I bring up Macbeth. I bring up even if you want to talk about like Hercules, right? These mythological elements of fates.
I think these Night Sisters, if you look at their names, they are the same names as the Fates.
No way! Wow.
You're
right. They dropped a poster today, right?
They did.
With the names.
Well, I think the credits have the names.
The credits have the names. Oh, maybe I should read the credits. Yeah, I'm too much thinking about the episode than reading the credits these days.
Even like we'll get to him, but like Enoch.
He has a credit.
Yeah, what his name?
Sam Witwer.
No, it's a dude from some project that people like. I don't know. I'm blanking what it was. No, network television.
Suits.
My point is the name Enoch is I believe it's he in the Bible becomes the voice of God, like the messenger essentially, which works since he's like clearly like right under Thrawn's command, which is which allegoring like Thrawn's army now to like him being of a god status is like, oh my god.
It's very interesting. Maybe I should have paid more attention to Bible school about more stuff like that. I immediately thought of like Romans. Isn't Enoch a Roman name, a Roman attribute as well? I mean, the Romans were very much,
Catholic.
Yeah, but to a degree. Yeah. Actually, I really thought of like the Roman Empire and ancient empires with the words like Enoch. Who I for a second there thought was Ezra. I was like, could this be? No. The scene later, I was like, never mind, it's not.
What if it
was a second. I see Enoch turn around. I click pause. I'm like, Jalen, could that be Ezra? I'm like, hey, maybe, sure. Unpaused it. He spoke, and then I was like, never mind. Again,
even a moment of doubt. Repent for your sins.
Wow.
7 Hail Marys. You're good.
You can't be talking. Yeah.
Oh, what do you got? What? What I do?
I can't think of any right now. But I tell you, people who watch our 100 episodes, Nathan hasn't been the best, theory crafter, if at all. At least I'm thinking.
I was better.
I was better than you.
I crafted Lucasfilm many a storyline for Din Djarin, and they don't take it.
They don't care. Whenever I hear the word Din Djarin, I think of that goofy ass season 3 ending. Anyways,
it's over, right? The Darksaber's destroyed so fast.
But okay, man. this is where the questions are rising with these three sisters. So they depart onto the planet. Sabine in tow. It's Balin, Shan, Morgan, and yeah, that's it. They meet the three sisters. The three sisters are around this triangular red string. Red strings of fate again. That's what I immediately think of. Very Western or very Eastern animation desire there. But let's see here. First question: why are they so devoted to Thrawn? They seem to have some kind of connection to Thrawn. Morgan explains how the voices she's been hearing were from these three witches.
Yes.
It's very interesting. So she said earlier in the season that she said, I've been hearing voices from Thrawn. I forget the quote, but I believe she alluded to it being Thrawn. But now we know that it's Thrawn calling to her. So it could be like Thrawn saying, hey, witches, call Morgan for me. And that technically tracks.
Hey, Siri.
Hey, Siri, can you call Morgan for me? So Thrawn probably
Calling
communicated.
Morgan.
Yeah, calling Morgan. Do you have the speed dial? Anyways, makes more sense because those voices that she heard, I'm like, it didn't sound like Thrawn. It could be something more ominous.
Like, she's going into a trap or something.
Yeah, this is not going to be good. Watch her be betrayed. Granted, she hasn't been betrayed yet, but Morgan, the witches in general, have been working with Thrawn. My first question is, why are they so devoted to Thrawn? My first answer is that they're less so super devoted to Thrawn and more so anti-Jedi, which is what Thrawn is. He's not a huge fan of the Jedi. I would think Thrawn is anti-mysticism in general, but he does appreciate their magic for now. But is he appreciative of their magic for his own ends, or is he appreciative of their magic in general? That's what I'm trying to get at.
I think he's not about it, but he respects it, especially given how it's burned him in the past. Because he heard the warning of the prophecy from the Bendu, which he just shot in the face, and the amazing moment where he's gone, he's laughing in the sky.
That's immediately one of the reasons I expected his anti-mysticism / force.
Absolutely, but then when it comes to fruition, when the Purgo grab him in the ship and take him off and strand him there, it's like, okay, well, I was told this would happen. I need to, evaluate, because I'm sure there's been at least a couple times where Thrawn has lost in his lifetime, and surely if he loses once, he's not going to lose again against said subspecies of the galaxy, which would include anything in regarding to the Force. He even calls against Morgan by the end of the episode, just like they both, Night Sister and Jedi, are capable of deception. I'm aware of this. Got to play this smart.
Wait, bring that back. He tells Morgan that at the end of the episode, or somewhere?
Yes, when they hear that Ahsoka's arriving, and Thrawn was assured that Ahsoka had died. So
okay, so he says, "Night sisters." Can you repeat that? I didn't write that down. He said,
well, the context was, you of all people should know that both Jedi and Night Sister are capable of great deception.
Interesting. I didn't write that down. So that line alone, I guess it's more of an end of episode idea, but we can talk about it now. Like that line alone alludes to what you're saying, where he's just like, he respects it, but he's also, I think this Thrawn way less trusting. He's never been a trusting person in general.
Well, yeah,
but
by the end here, Morgan had also said that, well, Balin assured me that she was killed, and Thrawn immediately calls out, and yet he was once a Jedi.
Yeah. I took a lot of notes about this, especially throughout my first watching. I'm like, oh, Balin, you're in trouble, fam. And this is the kind of thing I see a lot in, bringing it back to Big Brother and Survivor, where you join an alliance, Balin to Thrawn, you think you're in a good spot, but the head of that alliance, who holds the most power, says, I don't trust this person in my alliance. He might not do anything to him immediately, but he doesn't care if you stay or go. And I think that's the same ideology that Thrawn has towards Balin and Shin, where he's like, I don't care if these people, they can do my bidding, but then if they get stranded on this planet, so what? I don't care. If they die, so what? I don't care. So I'm going to mention it later on, but does Balin understand that dichotomy? Does he care? Does he not care? We'll get into it. But in general, yeah, this is very interesting relationship, partnership, whatever you want to call it, between Thrawn and these three witches.
Yeah, well, we see that it seems to be a mutual hand happening.
Mm.
Thrawn obviously needed them to call out to Morgan to bring them transportation to escape, which actually not only benefits Thrawn, but it benefits them because whatever they're moving out of their catacombs onto the cargo is important to them. And there, yeah, because there's like one shot like where somebody's pushing one of the cargo and it's like rumbling and shaking, and I don't know if they're like yeah, and I don't know if it's like undead souls that they're gonna resurrect of their people or something to spread the Night Sisters into the new galaxy or something. I don't know.
Fodder, you think?
Potentially, maybe even some of the Thrawn's crew could be. That's still up in the air whether or not if they're alive, dead, both mix.
Yeah.
They're called Night Troopers right now.
They are, yeah. I want to get into that in a second here. I want to answer stuff, and I'm glad we gotten it. Not much scare much though. Yeah, you're right. Famously, the Clone Wars, Mother Talzin, during her last gasp of power post Dooku's betrayal, when Dooku came in mass with Grievous to slaughter. Was this in the Clone Wars or in the comics? I always forget now.
It was a comic. It
was a comic.
I think they were out of Clone Wars by that point. Because I think because that comic I think also tells the story of how we get from Maul being captured by Palpatine to ruling Mandalore.
Yeah, you're right. So if people have not read it, there's a comic called Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir. This takes place post his betrayal getting his ass kicked by Sidious. One of the best fights. Jalen's favorite fight in Star Wars, probably. Jalen, you can comment about that if you think so still.
No twin sons, but it's a good one.
It's no twin sons, exactly. But Maul gets his ass kicked by Sidious. He's wounded. He goes back to his mother, like most people do.
Like a bitch. No,
Jesus.
No, I'm kidding. Me of all people shouldn't be talking.
But he goes to his Mother Talzin, and then Sidious follows suit and brings Dooku and Grievous to wipe out the Dathomir witches in general, Night Sister witches in general. Mm-hmm. They come in with a complete army and wipe out the Night Sisters. Yeah, Sidious versus Mons Savage is too good. It's a massive gap in Sith power. It's funny. I always love it too because Sidious not a fan of dueling in general. He'd rather use the Force, and he just still is a better duelist than both Maul and Savage, who we've seen go toe-to-toe with people like Kenobi and Ahsoka and Anakin. Not so much Anakin, but just Kenobi in general. So it's fascinating.
I think I called out in that we did in one of our episodes. I was remembering. I think Palpatine ends up losing one of his sabers in that fight because he notoriously has two in that fight, and I think he ends up losing one. And then when you get to Revenge of the Sith, he only has the one saber that he's dueling with throughout the movie.
Okay. Interesting. I must have forgotten about that. But yeah, it's a great fight. But yeah, he goes to Dathomir. Basically, Dooku and Grievous destroy the Night Sisters, massacre them. I think it's Grievous, the one that stabs Mother Talzin. She cackles and disperses. They think she's dead, whatever. But we do see her at the end of season 6, one of those episodes, one of those Netflix episodes. We do see Mother Talzin again, and she's not in season 7. So whatever. But anyways, they continue to be anti-Jedi. And going back to Ahsoka, when Mother Talzin or when Morgan finishes talking with them, they bring forth Sabine, and they start sniffing the forest. Basically, it reeks of Jedi.
It reeks of Jedi, and it's funny because I'm watching that scene and I'm like, what if they're smelling Balin?
Oh, but it could be. Balin's like, oh, it's a bean. It's a bean. Bring her out.
Well, Shin, you never know. They just don't presume because, well, clearly they're not them. This one's been trying.
Exactly.
It's funny because there's just even this episode, they keep doing force fake outs with Sabine in these scenarios where oh, she's gonna do something. or but then she gets interrupted, or it's something else making it look like.
Yeah, it's interesting. A slight tangent, but yeah, Hu Yang talks about how she has one of the weakest, I don't know what it's called, aptitudes for the Force that he's ever seen in his hundreds, thousands of years. But then we see her trying with the cup. That's eventually going to come back later. We eventually see her getting snuffed up by Night Sisters now. So it's like there is some kind of Force thing inside of Sabine. There's potential there, of course. But yeah, the Night Sisters sniff her out, basically. They put that triangular red string thing around Sabine, take her prisoner. But I also take note how Shin is immediately taken aback by this place as Sabine is taken away. She looks at Balin. There's some small Shin glances that we've seen throughout this episode. I didn't mention it earlier, but when they're coming down on their ships, Shin looks at Sabine as they're coming down. Just these small looks. Again, nothing major now, but I think could add up towards an eventual turn from Shin. But again, Shin is very much devoted right now, so there's only 2 episodes left. So I don't know how grand of a turn it's going to be if we do get one. But I do think she's still going to ally with them. And I'll explain later on more reasons about that. But yeah, so Shin is immediately taken aback by this place as Sabine's taken away into the dungeons. Just this look of like, I don't like what's going on here. It's a very eerie world, as me and you talked about. It's very creepy. But everybody else seems to be fine with it besides Shin. Shin's the only one who's like, this place sucks. I want to get out. Which is very interesting.
There's even a point where, like, you know, Balin's so like compelled that like there's a new beginning to be found here, and Shin's like, this place.
This place, yeah. What are you looking at? But let's talk about that here. Because stick to this area here. I think there was another scene. I might be going out of order now, but I want to jump to the Balin Shin scene when they're still in this area. The ship has the small, the transporter ship has gone back to the ship. They're just waiting on, Thrawn's ship to arrive. And Shin and Balin have a moment. And I stood up. I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. Speak to me, Balin. What do you want? What is your arc? What do you want to do here? And Balin tells Shin about his past, about the Jedi Order, how he, again, reminiscent of the Jedi Order, of where he came from, and talks about cycles and how overall this conversation seems very jaded by Balin. He says he sees the same cycle of history repeat over and over again. There's an inevitability to this conversation where he talks about how, the cycle of the Jedi Order is destruction, the rebirth of something new. This cycle of destruction and rebirth is very much continuous for Balin. There's again inevitability to it, and he wants to end the cycle. He wants to find a power to end the cycle. As Danny famously said in Game of Thrones, I want to break the wheel. So it's like, how are you going to accomplish this? I don't know. But right now, just him talking about this cycle, it's very meta because we do know the cycle exists in Star Wars. Jedi Order falls, gets taken down, the Empire gets taken down, the Republic gets taken down, Snoke gets taken down, and now we have the New Republic again post-Tross. So it does happen. We've seen it happen. But
I watched it happen. I saw it happen. Don't tell me it didn't happen.
Love it. Star Trek 2009, baby. So this cycle does happen, but personally from Balin, that's what I'm most interested in. How has he become? I mean, anybody can see that kind of cycle. You don't have to be you don't have to be closely related to it to understand the cycle does happen. It's just that how does he get to this jaded point? That's what I'm most curious about. What personally happened to him that made him like this? Is it just Order 66, or is there something more personal that happened to him? Because it can't just be Order 66, like Cal, for example, ex-Jedi, still a Jedi kind of thing. But we know Cal personally had something tragic happen to him with his past, or with his master. I mean, Kanan, same way, where it's like something personal happened with him and his master. And then Ahsoka, something personal happened between her and Anakin, and her and like the clones, and no, not the clones, but her getting framed in general. So there's personal things that happen to each of these Jedi / survivors / whatever you want to call it. What happened to Balin to make him like this? That's what I'm most curious about.
Yeah, because in accordance to Thrawn, when they meet, Balin was a general in the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
So,
which was a great. I forgot to write that down, but yeah, general in the Clone Wars. That's why he's so familiar with another famous general in Anakin. So
there was this thing about it. So you remember when we were watching the Trace and Rafa episodes of Clone Wars, and they were telling
Great
the story
episodes.
how the ship crashed into their home and how they lost everything, and all that Jedi could offer was, "Oh, don't worry, the Force will be with you,"
whew,
and left.
exactly.
Could you imagine if an additional Jedi that was there was maybe Balin witnessing that moment and was like, "What are we doing? What are we, if not people who can help?" Like we say we fight to help, but then we leave this in their wake to deal with.
What have we become?
Right. Now that will this happen? No, but I don't know, Dave. Anything could go back to anything he's worked on. So
Yeah. Hopefully they don't pull a Far From Home Mysterio where he's behind a curtain. He's like,
they named my life's work Barf.
Oh no.
It reeks of Jedi.
So yeah, this was just such a fascinating, great scene, by the way, where Balin's overlooking this desolate, nothing of a world, but there is something out there that he craves, something out there as we see later in the episode, he says is calling to him. I don't think this is good.
Yeah, he's under the impression that maybe they're running away from a power greater than that of their own. And the hubris, man, you might have to think you can harness this power is not good.
That was so fascinating to me, Nathan. We know this world, as soon as he gets on it, 3 witches are like, it reeks of Jedi. And we called out that, hey, Sabine's there, push her for her. But again, it's not an outlandish theory that they could also be talking about Balin, who's the next Jedi, who Thrawn mentions continuously is the next Jedi. But also that you're in a world of Night Sisters who are very much anti-Jedi. What makes you think this presence on an ancient homeworld of Dathomiri, what makes you think that this is going to be beneficial to you? What makes you think that you'll be able to control it? What makes you think that it won't want to kill you or possess you? That's what this is the biggest death flag for him. He's craving this new power. I hear new power, A, on a new world, B, full of Night Sisters. See, it's crafting bad things for Balin's future. It's just writing 101. And dark side thoughts in general 101. It's like where you want to crave power, but at what cost? It could be the cost of his own. Or, Anakin famously, like, I want to, go down this dark road of like breaking the cycle of my people dying, and I want to crave this power, but it doesn't turn out as he expected, as he's the one that, eventually kills Padme. So it's like, is Balin going to be the one to eventually not kill Shin, but just become overpowered, overwhelmed? I don't know. It's very interesting. These were the thoughts that I was having early on with Balin. I'll talk about his arc overall at a later scene that I think is more beneficial. But in general, this scene is very good. Very good scene between him and Shin. Again, he's talking about how he's reminiscent of the Order to Shin, somebody who's never seen the Order. So all she gets, her opinions, her thoughts about the Jedi Order stem from Balin, her master. And these are not good thoughts, right?
Unreliable narrator is very
unreliable narrator here, where we see why Shin is so devoted to Balin. We see why Shin is so like anti-Jedi. I mean, she hasn't been like super, super anti-Jedi, but she's going against Ahsoka and Sabine, and it's stemming from Balin's ideology about how the Jedi Order was weak, failure. All it created was a mess, and in its place became the Empire, and the Empire is gone now. So Shin, you shouldn't be associated with that, even though you have a braid, even though you don't have a red lightsaber. So it's like the physical attributes aren't matching what Balin's been teaching her. It's very interesting. But yeah, so that was the first scene. But let's get into it some more. I also said, like, previously in other episodes, he's always talking about a new beginning. this new beginning is now we get more clarity on it with this new power. He wants a new beginning where maybe he's on top, and instead of the Jedi Order being such a failure, he wants to be the one on top. And I'll get into that again in a later scene. But again, we see Thrawn fully returns with the rebuilt Star Destroyer, grand entrance. Night Troopers arrive. As Nathan and I mentioned, some could be dead and brought back to life, a la the Inquisitor. Another theory that has not been confirmed yet. But overall, I like the entrance of this like rebuilt Star Destroyer. Is it? I think it's a Super Star Destroyer, or is it just a Star Destroyer? It looks
normal one.
just a normal one. Okay.
It's actually missing its 3 giant thrusters on the back.
Okay.
Which I think are potentially the ones that make it capable of the hyperspace travel. So that's why they're especially stranded.
Yeah. What was your idea of, because again, we see the Night Troopers, we see finally the Thrawn entrance in general. What are your thoughts on it? Because again, I think for me, it was cool. I would have loved to have the more fitting Thrawn music. They played a different score, which I'm all for new scores. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I would have been more effective to use Thrawn's OG Rebel score there. And I think some of the volume stuff was peeking out a little bit when you see the massive troops in the background that aren't there at all. But again, it didn't take me out. I thought it was extra as hell in a good way.
Yeah.
And I liked seeing hearing the voice. It was very much on his back. It was very cool to see.
Yeah. Well, I dug everything about the scene. You know me, I don't see volume.
Good
Is that a joke in board days?
A little bit.
But I tend to be VFX blind a lot.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And forgiving. So I was pretty taken aback in a good way by the presentation. Like you could feel the grand upbringing, the Grand Admiral coming out. I loved seeing the troopers' mangled armor being put together. A lot of it had like a lot of like gold stitching, like you see in like classic Japanese like repair.
Oh, Kitsuji, right? Something like that.
Yeah, which is what inspired Kylo's mask and
exactly
Tross. So seeing stuff like that, I thought was really cool. And then seeing Enoch's helmet's face in this way was like so captivating. Because I knew this man was more than just an average trooper. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh, this is fucking cool!" Like this has elevated from Army of Thrawn to Cult of Thrawn, in every sense. I love seeing like the red scarf wrapping. So it's definitely like a greater mix of like elements, resources from the United Sisters mixed with the Imperial garb, and the music. I thought it felt very Thrawn. I felt it was like probably a sense of like a theme that has like festered in this desolate isolation. And just like this, like I said, it feels like a cult at this point. So it really feels like the grand leader of said cult like is coming out and gracing the presence of the people. So I thought it was really captivating. When I saw I watched these with subtitles on now because there's always little clues. When it said Night Troopers in the subtitles, I thought like, oh, cool name. I didn't think anything deeper. I was like, that's a cool name for this new toy. But
I immediately was like, Night Troopers? Are these not normal stormtroopers? But yeah, I think overall these are just stormtroopers who have been healed by Night magic, or just they're called that because they're on Dathomiri.
Well, that's what I figured. Like we would refer to these as like these aren't your standard stormtroopers. These are night troopers because they now, they aren't like in service of the Empire. They're in service of Thrawn. They're chanting Thrawn's name as he's coming out, which probably isn't standard Imperial protocol. Great
point. I didn't even think about that, or at least too much. Because Thrawn does. Going off of what we learned from Mando Season 3 via the Shadow Council, they're fully expecting Thrawn to be beneficial to the Empire. They're fully expecting Thrawn to come back and help resurrect the Empire, Project Resurrection, or whatever it was called. Does Thrawn have ulterior motives outside of just helping the Empire? Is that what you're alluding to, or just like
I
don't
don't.
know.
I don't think Thrawn personally. I think.
What is Thrawn's endgame? I think I don't think it's as clear as just like I want to get back to the galaxy, destroy the New Republic, and be king.
Well,
I don't think
I think Thrawn had a clear devotion to the Empire in his time.
He had a devotion of the Empire because the Empire was promised, or Sidious promised the Empire would help him in his what was going on in his world. That there was chaos in Thrawn's, I forget the name now, Thrawn's homeworld of
the
whatever.
Chiss.
The Chiss, there we go. Woo.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiss ascendancy was in chaos. He comes to the Empire, says, "Hey, I need your help." They're like, "Cool, be with us, earn or keep, basically, and then we'll come help you." Of course, he gets taken by whales. So,
well,
I wouldn't be super surprised if he's because I don't think he's just full on mustache swirling. I want to come back, destroy the New Republic, and that's it, baby. I think there could be something else.
I think in that stemming off of that story point, I think his return wouldn't just be like, "Oh, I can do good in service of the image of the Empire." I'm sure when he arrives, his mindset would be, "Okay, well, I can run this better than they did, and if you're going to allow me to do this, and you're going to look to me, I gladly accept." Because that puts him at the top. That gives him all the power.
And I think that's a great point. Yeah, and I think this cult ideology, and this is thinking way too far ahead, but like could create some friction between him and the other people within the Empire who are expecting him to be like, for the Empire. But Thrawn's gonna be like, for me, fuck the Empire. Basically, like, I want you guys to follow me, not the Empire as a group, but just follow me. I think that could be very interesting.
An additional thing in regards to the Night Sisters, I think because of his experience with this mystical things that he's hit brick walls with, and the fact that these fates of sorts have abilities to see and sense what's to come, I don't think he's dumb enough to set ulterior treachery, because they would in some way see something coming. So whatever's transpiring, I'm sure he squared out a deal that like, okay, you can do your thing, you help me do my thing, and we both walk away beneficial.
Exactly. We walk away fine. Honestly, he could bring a couple of Night Sister stuff. He actually is bringing Night Sister via the catacomb stuff.
Which is going to take 3 days.
3 days, yeah. Perfect. Enough time for Ahsoka to get
finale.
here. How convenient. Oh, cool.
One per episode.
I love when teachers. I love when shows do that. I love when shows give us a timetable that's just so convenient for our heroes to get there and thwart them.
You have 24 hours. Oh,
great.
good.
Just enough time for Jack Bauer to say.
I'll do it in 23.
Exactly. So yeah, I laughed at that too because I was like, 3 days. That's perfect. Ahsoka will get here in 1. Then the conflict will last another 1, and then we'll see what happens. Anyways. Yeah, so this whole Night Sister Thrawn team up and his reconciliation with the Empire, it's all future stuff, but I think Thrawn is definitely cooking something beneath the surface, either against the Night Sisters, I don't think so, but just against the Empire. Again, because I don't think it's going to be full on Team Empire. He could use them definitely because they're beneficial to him against the New Republic, but his interrelationship with the Empire could be different, or the Remnants could be different here. But again, continuing off the scene, we get like the catacomb stuff, or maybe it's later on, but either way, we can mention it now. They're getting all these catacomb stuff, and I'm like, oof, this could again lead to stuff where the Empire, the remnants of the Empire, is so anti-mysticism in general, held anti-species in general, right? Yeah. So it's like Thrawn bringing over these new secret weapons could also be against the New Republic and the Empire. These things could be very much helping him against like other Force users in Ahsoka or Luke or something. I don't know.
I can even see
he's definitely cooking something, or it could just be again just fodder, but you never know.
Yeah, and even in terms of the deal, I can see him even just being like, "Hey, no matter what happens in the galaxy, the plan of Dathomir is yours. Thrive as you will. We'll go our separate ways."
Mm-hmm. And could the Night Sisters also want him to spread Night Sister stuff back to the new galaxy?
Maybe. I think even like
Old
Merrick
galaxy.
could have been something to allude to that integration into
Exactly.
the service.
Great idea, right? Yeah, like this Mara could be a first example of like this integration with the Night Sister stuff to the not old, but our Star Wars
Mhm.
galaxy.
Which
So again,
I'm sure was like specifically like Morgan did that because she is of one witch and she was able to make one, but with like the combined power of these mothers, could
There's a
cook
lot
up something
more.
great, and especially with whatever they're bringing from this world within these tombs that they're carrying. It seems from these great catacombs.
These catacombs, they're carrying something. It's very ominous. It's very secretive. So again, this could just lead to stuff in this finale that could get solved in this finale. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, the more I think about it now, Ezra might have some answers to it as well. Because I mean, Ezra might have some answers about, like, first of all, Balin's power. Ezra might know what that could be about. He's been there for a while. He's also force sensitive, so he has to doubt something.
I had a theory in regards to that. In regards to the great power that Balin is sensing out there, I was personally thinking like it would be an interesting idea if what he was sensing was Ezra, but because he doubts where his upbringing was coming from in terms of training and such, which in fairness is just like a mirroring of what he's doing with Shin anyway.
I would love that twist if he's looking and looking and looking, and then he finds Ezra and is just like, "Wait, it was you?" And Ezra's like, "Huh? What?" That would be fun. That would be a good twist. I don't expect that, but I would love that. That would be the twist I really love, and would at least expect. Well, guess not now because we're talking about it.
Which would would make a great conversation of Ezra to have with Balin of just like, well, look, I can't. Because Ezra himself would be like, I can't speak to anything of the Jedi Order. I don't come from that. My master did, but he trained me very much outside of such a setting, and maybe he can offer him words that will guide him to a new perspective.
Exactly. And I want to talk about how Ezra could relate to Shin as well, because I mentioned earlier Shin has some new opportunities, quote unquote, on this new world. I think Ezra is that opportunity because Ezra is similar to her, which she takes note of. Again, I'll mention that later on. But right now, again, these catacomb things could be interesting. Ezra might know what they are. So Ezra either could hold a lot of answers or just be clueless. I think he'll hold more answers than be clueless, because why else would he be important to the show outside of his relationship to Sabine? But anyways, so Sabine meets Thrawn. Speaking of Sabine meets Thrawn. Interesting Rebels reunion here. He's like, "Hey, buddy," and Thrawn's like, "So why is she here? Why is she here? Why is she in front of me?" And Morgan's like, "Well, Balin said she could be useful," and he's like, "Did you now? Okay. Well, sure. Let her
I
go.
can see it. I see the vision.
I see the vision. Okay. Go find Ezra." Sabine's like, "Ayo, right now?
For real? What's the catch? No catch.
Yeah,
kind of.
No catch. Get the fuck out of here." No.
I have been loving, like, whether it's with Sabine and Balin or Sabine with Thrawn. It does seem like both sides have legit been like, yeah, no, cool, let's do it. And there's been like no ulterior motive much. Like, it's just like, yeah, no, do it. Go. Do your thing. All right, cool. Like, here's the map. Okay, you'll go to Ezra. You want to find Ezra? Yeah, sure. Yeah, here's the stuff. Go find him.
Go find him.
We'll give you. I love this description. We'll give you the last known whereabouts we have, because we also are clueless.
Yeah. So this was curious for me by a number of fronts. So basically, Sabine meets Thrawn is very cool, and Thrawn tells Balin that she'll be useful to them. Balin kind of like has that wry, look to him, like, okay, cool, I see what you're cooking there. But why did Balin keep her around? He says Balin himself says she'll be useful to them before ever meeting Thrawn. And then Balin also agrees to let her go, but then also goes to chase her. I'm like, then why'd you keep her in the first place, Balin? What was your goal for her?
Well,
It was just to keep her end of the deal. Just say like, hey, we'll allow you to meet Ezra, I guess.
Possibly that. It could be that he might want to use Ezra for knowledge of what's on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of hidden factors we're not entirely sure of. He is also still in service of Morgan at the moment, and I can see why he's like that. That's his ride.
Which is so interesting. Speaking of that, he's still in service of Morgan and Thrawn. The next conversation, Thrawn's like, but we talked about it earlier, but he talks about how, Balin is still a Jedi. Jedi is always, whatever he says, like a Jedi is always a Jedi, something along those lines. And I'm like, this is halfway through the episode. I'm like, Balin, watch out. Thrawn's not really caring about you, because a lot of you that day, he sends Balin and Shin after them.
Mm-hmm.
And Balin agrees. He's like, okay. And we also see cracks in the armor between Shin and Balin. Or Shin's like, so are we going against your deal? Didn't you say you wanted to honor your deal by keeping her, by allowing her to meet Ezra? Wasn't that part of the deal?
Yeah, which
Balin's
Thrawn,
like,
Thrawn interjects before he even responds.
Okay.
He's like, well, no, yes, she will have the opportunity. Whether or not they, succeed is a whole different thing.
It's a different story. And Balin's just like, I think Balin just agrees with it, right? He just shakes his head.
Which I don't know if he's just like reading the room or if he truly believes.
I don't. He's such an enigma. So good. But I'm just like, okay, Balin, you allow her to live. You let her go meet Ezra, but then you're willing to follow Thrawn by chasing after her. But also, Thrawn doesn't like you. Do you know Thrawn doesn't like you? You can't be that dumb. It's Thrawn. But you also want power. Wow. I'm like, what's up? What do you know that you're not in a power position right now, Balin? It's so interesting to me. I don't know what to expect from Balin. He's such an enigma. All these new beginnings bullshit. I don't know. Does he expect him, once he finds the power, he can supersede whatever Thrawn has plans for him? So if he has a clue that Thrawn doesn't like him, can he assume that when he gets this new power, that it doesn't matter that Thrawn doesn't like him, he'll have this new power, and he could be like, I am in the power seat now. But we know, as like people who watch fiction, this new power isn't good for Balin. It's not going to be good for Balin. It's just 101. But I don't know, man. I'm very curious. I'm like, Balin, watch your back, bro, because they don't care about you, bro. And I think something along those lines where Thrawn talks to Morgan in the later scene, and like the 3 days thing is mentioned, and they're like, what if Balin and Shin don't make it back in time? It's like, okay, whatever. Basically. And I'm just like, they don't care if you're live or die, Balin. So even Morgan doesn't really care. Morgan's a Thrawn. She's good now. She's happy.
Yeah.
She doesn't care about you. She continues to call them the mercenaries. They're not even by name. So I'm just like, I'm like, Balin, I'm looking out for you because I know you're gonna die, but I'm looking out for you. Man, it's so interesting. This episode in particular, I'm like, there's some Shin and Balin intersections going on, but now there's Balin and Thrawn stuff that's happening. I'm just like, what is it that's going on here? But yeah. Let's see. I have Shin is surprised. Okay. Before we get to the Sabine stuff, I don't know, because this episode is very interesting because halfway through the episode, we beat Thrawn. And it's fantastic. It's very ominous. The new threats. But the other half of the episode, we get some Sabine stuff. But I want to save some of the Sabine, because the Sabine and Ezra stuff I can just make as one whole diatribe at the end of this discussion. But I want to continue. Sorry.
About like the translation of Thrawn to live action.
Oh yeah, let's talk about it real quick. What do you think?
Everything I could have hoped for. For the longest time, I wanted this actor to portray him in live action because I had seen him do it already. I said many times in Sherlock season 3. He basically plays Thrawn type in that. And he's phenomenal. He knows every single step, every way around, and it's phenomenal. And then seeing it here, I think they've done wonders with the makeup. I think he looks great. I agree, Jalen.
Lars Mikkelsen, he's great.
phenomenal. I think the makeup looks wonderful. I'm probably going to paraphrase, but I love his first line. It's something like, what was once a dream, is now, uh,
Reality.
yeah, a reality of a nightmare, to those who dare to oppose us.
Ooh,
Something along those lines, and I'm like, fuck. the
That's fire.
first line, and it's a bar. It's so
Um,
good.
it's great. In contrast to people like Sabine, Ezra, Ahsoka now, these are three people who came into live action, different actors, and they've done well, especially with Ezra. Just in a few seconds, I'm like, this is great. Sabine, I'm already in love. This is great. Ahsoka is, it's fine. But Thrawn, hearing his voice from animation to live action be the complete same, it does wonders. And I'm with you, dude. It's like the voice acting, it hasn't missed. It's back. It's great. The facial features look different, but I expected that in live action, and it's honestly, very fine for me. I don't love it, but I think it's really cool. It's really good.
I think he looks like a Thrawn that has aged.
Yeah, which works as well. It's been a couple years. It's been a couple years. I think honestly 10, I think, or so years. Because you add in pre-OT plus the 6 years post ROTJ, and you get around 10 years. Yeah. And he hadn't been going to CrossFit, so
Or I mean, didn't he have those kickflip droid training rooms?
he did, but are they still active in that destroyed ship of his?
Well,
We'll
they brought
see.
those. Well, those droids were the enemy of the season 2 finale of Mando. So if they wanted to, they could.
They could. Yeah. Yeah, I want to see Thrawn in close combat now in live action.
I'll see this Thrawn do like kickflip.
Because he was pounding Callus in the season 3 finale. So Rebels.
Another
either way,
thing
yeah.
to remember from the finale of Rebels that we watched, specifically on Thrawn's starship, is the remnants of the Lothal Jedi Temple that he used to have Palpatine guide Ezra through to tempt him. Is there any possibility of said temple coming back into play for whatever reason? Is that maybe what Balin's sensing, and he's going on a circular goose chase?
He went in the opposite direction, if that's the case.
He has to go to the Lothal boy first.
Lothal boy, then back to the ship. No, I don't think so. This might be too much of a deep cut for Rebels to live action fans out there. It's like, hey, there's this temple in season 4 of Rebels that Ezra was tempted with. It's like, whoa. Let's try and make things as simple
It's
as
easy
possible.
enough if they just skip that, like, who it happened to. They're just like, yeah, they have pieces of a temple from Lothal.
That's not normal, Nathan. They have pieces of a temple in a starship.
Yeah. Well,
it was weird in Rebels. It was weird here.
About witches on a planet. For some people are seeing for the first time.
True.
I doubt Worlds was like such an out there thing.
I assumed that whole temple stuff was destroyed when Ezra left and when the ship went via hyperspace or whatever. I don't think the temple survived the trip, basically.
Well, he did collapse it, right? So
yeah. So Grand Soft Facebook post about Zepho artifacts being picked up on the planet. What if we saw Zepho stuff?
Jalen, don't give me hope, because I really want it, especially going into this new galaxy. I wanted to see some Zepho stuff, and hey, if we get it, please. They're such a cool species.
Zepho stuff could track, especially with what we saw in episode 1, primarily with some Zepho artifacts. In terms of like, there's another species here, like there was some Zepho hints in Ahsoka episode 1. So continuing that in this new galaxy of Peridia, or the new planet of Peridia, it's possible. It's possible. So yeah, in general, I want to talk about one of my other favorite scenes of the episode, having to do with Shin and Baylan, and this is where a vast majority of my notes came from as well. As they get closer to tracking down Sabine, and again, I'll get to the Sabine stuff later, but as they get closer to tracking down Sabine, Shin, they see the remnants of Sabine's earlier scuffle with the some Marauders. We'll get to in a second here, but this is such a fascinating scene for Shin and Baylan. because Shin's going over the dead remnants of these marauders, and she is unclear of who she is. She talks about how she could be similar to this Bogan Jedi Ezra. And Balin turned around. And he's like, "Oh no, how dare you?" No, he didn't say that, but he basically says like, "You are not similar to Ezra. I crafted you to be something. I'm making you into something more." And this again, I wanted to go back. This tracks with Balin's arc in connection to Ahsoka, where Ahsoka wants to wants to foster this new identity for Sabine, make her into the Jedi she's able to be. And even though they've had some hurdles, Ahsoka's back to training Ahsoka's back to training Sabine into the Jedi that she thinks Sabine could be, the potential in Sabine. Meanwhile, Balin, he misses the idea of the Order. He is aware of the weaknesses, the flaws of the Jedi Order, the truth of the Jedi Order, his idea of the truth of the Order. But he also wants to craft Shin into something more powerful. He wants to be, Jalen says he wants to be beyond Sith. Yeah, true. Why am I Ahsoka who is not Jedi? But so it's interesting. I think he's taking a different approach, and this is where I got a lot of my ideas from. I want to scroll up to my Balin thoughts here. I think similar to how in episode 5, Ahsoka's main prerogative, and we called out in episode 4, is fear. She had this idea of fear that was like anchoring her mind, a fear of like this idea of destruction and failure might continue towards Sabine in terms of the Ahsoka Sabine master apprentice relationship. She also is fearful of the future, the idea that Thrawn coming back could bring again destruction, war, havoc to the galaxy, to the known galaxy. Now for Balin, in terms of that connection to fear and the Jedi Order, Balin fears ever going back to a time like the Jedi Order, where he was defenseless, where he was subject to pain, loss, failure, and death. He wants to create something stronger for himself, and something stronger and better for Shin. And he wants to be better than the Jedi Order, because as he notes, he keeps on saying he wants Shin to be better. So he wants to create something better than Jedi Order. He wants to find this power on this planet that can help him break this cycle of pain, break this cycle of fear, break the cycle of destruction, so he can be more powerful. Again, these are dark side tendencies, very much so, which is again in contrast to Ahsoka, who in the last episode learned to acknowledge those failures, acknowledge those the loss and pain, whatever, and move past it. Follow the will of the Force, accept that you want to live. I think Balin's going down the opposite path here, where I think he thinks he's living the life, but he still is anchored by that pain. He wants to create something stronger, and he's going to become subject to possible manipulation, possible loss, possible, I don't know. There's not an upside to this unknown power. There's too many unknown variables there for Balin. And again, it's all stemming from this idea of fear and wanting to create a more lasting power. And he talks about this with Shin in this other conversation where he wants something more lasting, not a new Jedi Order, not because he says to Shin, that's fleeting. Whatever power we have with Thrawn, that's fleeting. He wants something more lasting, and that's the power that's on this planet. What will become of that, I don't know. But this whole conversation of wanting Shin to be better than him, or better than the Jedi, it raises so many questions. It raises so many variables. I was just immediately enthralled by this scene. And at the same time, he's telling Shin all of this, while Shin wants to get the fuck out of there. I don't think she's really grasping what Balin is playing with here, or what Balin really wants. She's just going along with it because that's her master. She's along for the journey. She's along for the ride. But I think the
Yeah.
minute she senses something's amiss, there's going to be cracks starting to form. And I think she's still going to be very much devoted and connected to Balin. But if something happens to Balin, she could run to a person like Ezra or Sabine. It's very wide open. I don't know. But this is just a very interesting conversation between Shin and Balin here.
Absolutely.
It was very cool. Okay. And then let's see here. Yeah, again, Shin continues to express her discomfort with Peridia, calls it a wasteland. And that's when Balin looks up and sees, you might call this a wasteland, but and they lock eyes with like these other marauders. He's like, there could be more opportunities, and let's connect with these people so we can find Ezra and Sabine. But bringing us back to, speaking of Sabine, let's go to Sabine's side of the story before we end the episode of Thrawn. I love the Sabine stuff. I'm looking for my Sabine notes. This is very cool. This turns the second half of the episode from something ominous with like whale husk or whatever to something cool and whimsical and funny.
It's Star Wars.
It's pure like Return of the Jedi type of Star Wars, where it's like Return of the Jedi is a great mix of like dread and death, but also very fun with the Ewoks and these new species on Endor. And that's exactly what we get here with these new species. On subtitles, they kept saying like these Tito language. I don't know if the species are called Tito, but something along those lines.
Noti?
Noti, maybe that's right. Noti Tito. The Noti could be a species or could just be the language, but she comes across them. Do you know what the animal was called that she's with? It looks like a rat mixed with a wolf, right? Like the ears make it seem like a mouse / rat ears.
It's like part bat.
Or bat, yeah.
Part wolf. But like, what was the name of it? Because that was even like, hey, you're riding a something.
You're riding a wolf. You must be a friend of Filoni's,
right? It's like some disparaging name. It's like Howler. That's right, James. Right, Howler.
Thank you, Jalen, with the Howler. You're riding a Howler, howling like a wolf. Yeah, Ezra always. We learned that throughout all 4 seasons of Rebels. Ezra is a huge fan of like
Howler. I'm missing that.
Thank you, Jalen. Thank you. So yeah, the
Harry Potter.
Exactly. What was the Howler from
Ezra Bridger? How dare you steal that starship?
Yes.
Hera's absolutely disgusted.
Run away. Miss those movies, man.
Looks over at Ginny all sweetly, like, "Oh, congratulations on Gryffindor." Tears itself up in front of Ron.
Oh man, peak comedy. But yeah, so
gotta get Chris Columbus into Star Wars,
right? Where's Chris Columbus been? He did good. Harry Potter, the first 2 movies wouldn't be anywhere near as great as they are if it wasn't for Christopher Columbus.
It did a lot of good work with John Williams. He did.
Yeah, Home Alone, Harry Potter. He was on a run there, and now look at him, tired.
Isn't he making the what? Didn't he do like that Kurt Russell Christmas Chronicles?
Oh, did he? Was that Christopher Columbus?
I think either he did it or he produced it, but I think people actually enjoyed it.
Okay, they made 2 of them, didn't they?
I think so. I want to check them out.
Yeah, I'll support Columbus. It's funny. I remember watching a lot of these behind the scenes of Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone, and Chamber of Secrets. I did my research for the podcast that we did. 3-hour Harry Potter podcast. Find that on our channel. It's great. But Chris talked about being so exhausted after the first movie, and they wanted him to do the second one. He's like, okay, fine.
Like the immediate year after, like
exactly. He was so burnt out. He was like, I can't do the third one, and that's when they brought in Alfonso Cuarón.
Fuck shit up.
And he's like, fuck it up. Yeah, he completely changed the geography of Hogwarts. It all changed with Prisoner of Azkaban, and is stuck from Prisoner of Azkaban to Deathly Hallows. Anyways, back on our Star Wars train here. It was so whimsical. Like there was a great wide shot between her and the Howler. The Howler's like goes off frame because Sabine yells at it, pauses,
Yeah.
comes right back. It's great.
Perfect.
It's like it reminds me of like TFA. When Ray's like upset with BB-8 and BB-8 comes back, she's like,
You can't follow me. No,
yeah.
town is that way.
Palama Quata.
There's enough time passed that we can commentary Star Wars again.
I know, right? I'm like, can we just watch Last Jedi again? Just do it part 2. We can watch the black and white version, no sound version or something.
Right, score only.
Score only, yeah, that's what it was. That'd be fun. But anyways, this was all just, very sweet, very Star Wars. This episode really had it all because again, it was like dark, threatening, but also very cute and funny. And yeah, she meets these rocks, and I immediately thought of like that rock does not look like a rock, and then it moved. I'm like, oh, hello, that was really cool. Did you notice it?
Well, no, not until he licked it or like was sniffing it. I was like, as soon as he went to lick it, I was like, oh, that's gonna be something. Boom.
But even when she went over to it, the frame like focused on the 2 rocks. It's kind of like when you're playing a video game.
You're like me when I watched like an old cartoon where like every like background element is painted, but like the one thing that they're about to move is like the actual 2D color.
That's what I'm saying. Like when you're playing a video game or watching an old cartoon, like you can tell the discrepancies and like, hey, this one's able to be touched and this one's not. Like, this one's like a real thing. Whatever.
Sounds like you're calling bad VFX then.
Yeah.
No.
No, I'm kidding. It's fine. It was cool. But yeah, the species in general, great effects. Great VFX there. And I like this whole species.
Yeah.
It felt very, people automatically go straight to Ewoks because those are the most famous, like, newish species back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it felt like. They go back to the tribe. It was very cool. They would win it among us. Hell yeah. There should be like a Star Wars like Among Us. People, how good would Ezra be in Among Us? How good was Sabine being Among Us? That's what I want to know. But yeah, we go to their village here, and it's very cute. There are all these little huts, and I'm automatically like, okay, my heart's beating.
Oh no,
it's time. We're doing it. No, it's good. It's good.
I thought you were like they're gonna get wiped out. No,
no. Still could be. But when I was asking, I was like, how are they? Like, Sabine has one conversation with them, sees the Ezra Rebel insignia. He's like, Ezra, and then they lead him straight to Ezra. I'm like, how did Thrawn and them not find Ezra yet? But Ezra
because they're not compassionate.
True. That is very much it. But Ezra later says, like, hey, we don't stay at one place for a long time. So they constantly migrate. So that's definitely the answer there as well. Yeah. But yeah, my heart's beating. I'm like, how are they gonna do this reunion? And it was so
casual,
not what I expected. It was out of the blue. It wasn't as dramatic as I was expecting.
I was expecting like over the horizon, like seeing the distance, like Ezra, like just turn like what?
Yeah.
Oh, and just a slow like run to each other, like
Yeah. But he's just chilling. He's like, took you a while. I'm like, hey, yo,
son of a bitch.
Wow. Nathan, our goat, our king, Ezra is back. Man. And for all the new podcast listeners, if you've never watched Rebels or whatever, Ezra, especially when doing countless rewatches of Rebels, Ezra and Kanan are my 2 favorite Jedi. I would put them above Luke and Anakin. Anakin's a close third, then Luke. I love Anakin more than Luke. But Ezra and Kanan for me are just like peak Jedi characters. I love their relationship. I love their character arcs in general. And Ezra for me is just fantastically written from season 1 to season 4 of Rebels. And seeing him in live action, Granted, I wanted this to be all animation. I will admit that. But seeing him in live action, his dialogue, his is just him as a character. The actor portrayed him so well. In his new look, it looks like Jesus Christ.
I say Moses and Prince of Egypt.
Moses.
After he
Yeah.
left, Egypt.
And then the actor on Twitter was like, "Let my people go."
I was like, yes.
He gets it. So on top of all these Hercules / Hamlet mysticism stuff, we're also getting Moses symbolism because he's the goat. The goat. Yes. He is. And I was screaming from the high heavens because Ezra is one of my all-time favorite Star Wars characters. And it was just so sweet. Again, will Filoni do anything romantically with these two? Probably not because he's a coward.
At this point, I don't think so.
But I would love it. It's probably not going to happen at all. No. Hey, Sabine, let's just go into our hut and chill.
That's not.
Like, come on. Any other director would be like, this is prime opportunity.
Make it
magic.
sunset.
Right? Right? If this all I'm saying is that if this was Willow, we would have had something here. John Kaz didn't do the assignment. Filoni's too much like, oh, I like my abstinent Jedi over here.
Says the man who made Kanan and Jason.
I know. You're right. I immediately thought of Kanan in there. But even then, that was like off screen, and somehow she was pregnant by the end. I'm like, when did this happen? Anyways, I'm not saying I need to see sex scene in Rebels. It's animation. I get it. It's kids. Disney XD.
We borderlined in Andor.
Yeah, I'm right. I mean, I'm saying Andor could do it. Come on. It exists. Here's what Jabba the Hutt and chill. What do you think of this stuff?
We need to get Jalen on this podcast.
I know. Speaking of Jabba the Hutt, people were mentioning in the chat, he doesn't know that Jabba the Hutt is dead.
I said it would be a hilarious gag if he gets back to our galaxy and he tries that shit and he gets caught in his act. It's just like, Jabba's dead, you idiot. Oh, fuck.
Like, what? Fuck. Oh, man. He's going to go to Tatooine and, pull a...
so smug, he's like...
Yeah,
the name's Jabba.
They're like, arrest this man, this idiot.
Take him to Boba.
He's like, Sabine, why didn't you tell me? Anyways, yeah, you're like 6 years too late there, Ezra.
Made me think of a fucking Luke and Empire. Ben, why didn't you tell me?
Why didn't you tell me? I didn't think it was that important.
Poetry, rhymes.
Poetry, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say here with Ezra's reunion. It's very sweet. It's very cool. Again, Sabine alludes to or doesn't allude to how she got here. She basically says hey, we got to talk about it, basically. If I'm Ezra, I'm like, thanks for finding me. I guess the plan worked.
He's like, right? And
right.
And she's like, listen, I'm happy to see you. And
yeah.
Even just the way that scene ends when he's just like, I can't wait to go home.
About that.
Well, luckily Ahsoka's on the way, but they don't know that.
I mean, Rebels, how many times did they sneakily get on a ship? Is it that hard to sneak onto a night trooper ship? Probably. But
this one, maybe. If
the
the fates around of something's aboard.
Yeah, you're right. They could probably get sense, and Ezra probably knows that as well. So, how are they going to get back? Ask the whales again, maybe, but they're going to be shot down in the next episode, probably. Not good.
That's out here. I don't know. Bendu's back.
Exactly. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to know. So yeah, Ahsoka Sabine reunite, or Ezra Sabine reunite. Ezra, I want to continue our conversation here. Ezra, being this lone wolf figure, somebody that Thrawn hasn't really gone after yet. Could there be anything that Thrawn and Ezra talked about before they parted ways? Is there any, or did Ezra just automatically dip as soon as they got to the planet? Ezra probably doesn't realize when he arrived the whole complexity of it all, but he probably sensed, similar to what Shin is sensing, this place isn't good for Jedi.
Yeah, if I were to guess, this whole situation that probably went down is they arrived there, you know, chaos is ensuing on the ship because it's broken, and in that chaos, Ezra's like, "Oh, I got to get out of here. Like we're in some type of atmosphere. Let's go." So he gets down to surface, probably trying to go find some way off the planet. No luck, and then he has to, resort to proper training to survive.
Exactly. And then meanwhile, Thrawn's like, okay, I'm stranded on a new planet. But these Night Sisters are so anti-Jedi that he can connect with them on that level. Be like, hey, I'm not, there's this other Jedi that I don't like. Let me help you, kind of like, and then that kind of rekindled or just kindled his relationship with the Night Sisters in general. Because he
Mhm.
has like those, dark intentions, and he's against Ezra and Jedi. We know in general the Night Sisters aren't all bad, but just the idea of Ezra being a Jedi, he's not, could definitely went a long way, presumably. But for Ezra here, I wonder what Ezra's going to share about like the Night Sister stuff, the homeworld in general, what this power could be. Is he going to have some kind of interaction with Balin and Shin in the next episode? What kind of answers is he going to give about his experience? There's just so much possibilities here between Ezra and Sabine's conversations in next week's episode. I can't presume to guess. The only thing I can assume is that we're going to get Sabine either telling him on screen or off screen about like the situation that they're in, the dire situation that they're in. Even from Sabine's perspective, she doesn't know how Hera or how Ahsoka can get to them. I don't think she's expecting a migration of wolves or of whales to come their way.
I think I think will probably be the situation is here's a shipping setup of where everybody's located. Presume if they're captured that they're in there. Let's sneak aboard, see if we can find them, and then Ezra and Sabine will have to be like, okay, so we don't have any way off this planet but Thrawn's ship. We got to find a way to sneak on undetected. So it'll probably be probably like a cool like callback to Force Awakens, sneaking around Starkiller, trying to look for each other, and oh shit, in the hallway, here you are.
For sure. And I think Sabine has to have questions like, how did you survive so long without like no lightsaber? What did you do here? And I'm curious to see how Sabine thinks of this new Ezra and how we think of this new. We only saw him for like less than a minute. What is his new philosophy as a Jedi now? I'm very curious about that.
It's funny. I think he's going to be mature in his actions, but have his same sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm hoping is whenever Thrawn and Ezra end up sharing the screen together again, I hope it's like a Peter Pan, Captain Hook situation of just like one very serious, the other rather playful.
I would love that. That tracks as well. That would be very fun. So yeah, it was just, again, I can't keep using this word, but it's just a very sweet reunion. I love these two characters together so much. And I'm happy for Sabine. She risked, as Thrawn mentioned, you risked the fate of the entire galaxy to find one man who might be dead in Ezra. Granted, we know now he's not dead, but he's not wrong. But when villains say you risked all this for one man, that one man saved the rebels by throwing Thrawn out of the picture. This one man will continue to have a big presence in the next two episodes.
In any story, really, whenever it's like you risk it all for this one person, it's like, yeah. And and majority of the time, it is the right call.
Exactly. And we mentioned this the past 5 episodes now, especially last week, where like, Sabine made a rash personal decision, but similar to what Anakin has done countless times before, this rash personal decision will turn out to be for the greater good because she's following her heart. She's following the will of the Force that she believes. Again, like Hu Ying said at the very beginning, it might not be your right decision, Ahsoka, but it was Sabine's, and she's going to follow it through and just see where that leads. Just like Ahsoka saw where it led, where she went into a Purgo's mouth. So we'll see. We shall see. Then at the end of the episode, not much else to say here, but Thrawn has a very funny conversation with Morgan and the Night Sisters. I forget how it starts. Oh yeah, nice to say like, hey,
It's a loose thread.
there's a loose thread coming our way hot. We sent
Yeah.
something coming.
A Jedi, and I love Thrawn. Just like, could it be the recently deceased Ahsoka Tano?
And if the camera zooms in, if this was like The Office or Parks and Rec, the camera would zoom in on Morgan's face, and she's like, "Okay,
It cuts to the interview. Look,
look. I didn't
Balin
tell
said.
yeah, Balin said he was dead, so I just thought she was gone, and yeah, don't tell Thrawn, please." Her face was hilarious. And she immediately knows, like, hey, Balin said she was dead. You mean the other ex-Jedi? And that's
The one you physically heard say, "This is a shame that we have to kill Ahsoka."
right. So again, more so Thrawn casting doubts on Balin to Morgan. Look, I'm not going to question the Sith. What was I supposed to do? Yeah, I mean, we need Ahsoka Parks and Rec. But yeah, so
Parks and Recs.
Parks and Recs. Hello.
Porgs and Recs. There we go.
Yes, let's go. It was just a very funny comedic moment. Morgan knew she fucked up, but then Thrawn immediately gets to the crux of it. He's like, "Okay, cool. Give me everything you know about Ahsoka," because he never really interacted with Ahsoka. In Rebels, Ahsoka was a consistent plot thread, but when Ahsoka was out of the picture, Thrawn came into the picture in season 3. So they never really crossed paths. Thrawn has crossed paths with Anakin in the past. In the second Thrawn book, he has had experience with Anakin and Padme. He's had experience with Palpatine, but he has never had experience with Ahsoka. So when he has asked Morgan, "Give me everything you know about Ahsoka," I assume we're once again going to get some Anakin references because he's had familiarities with both Vader and Anakin. He knows both of them.
I think this is probably going to end up being my favorite Thrawn thing of the season when we get to it, where Thrawn's going to confront Ahsoka about that, because we know in canon when Thrawn experiences Vader and he makes the connection based on his fighting style and his flying that it's Anakin, and that piece of the puzzle clicking together, it's like, oh fuck, that is really cool. So now when he gets this new puzzle piece that, oh, this is the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker of Darth Vader, oh, I have so much lore to pull on to fuck with her brain.
I can fuck you up. No, but
luckily Ahsoka just went through the training to deter this. So
right, which is so great because again, in episode 4, Balin really drills home. We have a legacy of death and destruction that will follow you, and that kind of like affected her. It has been affecting her. And then episode 5, she kind of like goes through the pain, the tribulations, Anakin Force Ghost, whatever you want to call it, helps her out there. So when Thrawn tries to like belittle like her master, the Jedi Order in general, Ahsoka will have risen above that. But still hearing it's not gonna be great. So it's gonna be interesting seeing her interact with Thrawn on a personal level, and just on a versus level.
Can you imagine if Ahsoka like turned the tables in like a threatening manner of just like, yeah, that's right, I am the apprentice of Darth Vader. Fucking back up.
Next question. Yeah. What do you want from me? That would be great.
Oh my god.
Oh man. So again, I can't wait for Thrawn and Ahsoka. These two characters have been, or Ahsoka mostly, have been like, we got to find Thrawn. But again, they haven't really met before until next Tuesday. So that's going to be very exciting. He does say at the end, it's on site with those Pergil. As soon as you see,
he did.
As soon as you see a tentacle, blow them the fuck up, basically.
Out of the sky.
Out of the sky.
Terminate with extreme prejudice, he says.
Exactly, extreme prejudice. It's going to be hilarious. Not hilarious for the whales, obviously. Some will die, some will survive, of course.
I can see the whales grabbing onto the ring, right? Like, can you imagine like imagery of it like breaking the ring up?
Oh, like the hyperdrive ring?
Yeah.
That'd be cool. There's kind of their only way out of there. Thrawn's only way out of there. So
yeah, I imagine he's gonna make it.
Yeah, but yeah, because I still think the finale is him coming back to Cetos and obliterating those New Republic people who were trying to stop Ahsoka. But anyways, yeah, it was just hilarious. So I expect Ahsoka, though, main character, she'll survive. Yeah, right. We were talking about that earlier. It was so raw, so dark, so cool.
So metal.
I can imagine. Okay, theory time. Pergil hop out of hyperspace. Ahsoka hops out of the mouth. Laser fire comes from the planet or whatever, some kind of artillery. Ahsoka using the cover of the bones to make her way to the planet herself and safe and sound.
Cool.
Kind of like how they use the cover of the Pergil when they were running away from Shin in episode 3. Use the rings as cover. The carcass field as cover. In general, we know Ahsoka will survive it. I can't wait to see Ahsoka reunite with Ezra. Because the last time they met, World Between Worlds. See you on the other side, kid.
Ezra specifically said, like, come find me.
Yeah.
Back.
Come find me. Meanwhile, Ahsoka's like, hey, we got to destroy the map to not find Thrawn. That'd be great.
Meanwhile, Sabine got like the cryptic ass, like, you'll know what to do.
Yeah.
And then like when they reunite, he's like, I knew you'd know what to do. It's like, fucking, what if she didn't?
What if she didn't? Oh man, Ezra. Yeah, that plan was not the best. But yeah, this is in general, we're over 2 hours now. This was a great episode. A lot of possibilities. I'm thinking, I said this immediately after the end of the episode, Baylan becomes overcome with this new power, whatever it is. Could be some kind of, Jalen mentioned a Bendu-like thing on here.
Mm-hmm, I like that.
Could be a Dathomiri version of it. So, I mean, Filoni was the one who created the idea of the Bendu, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get something similar like that, but very, very dark and ominous on Dathomiri, on Peridea, on this planet.
I think it might be cool if you did a twist on its head version of the Dark Side Cave, but more show the light that's within you and personify it, which is like, it's a similar thing that happens to I think Ben in the comics. Like he saw his parents, right, when he was going through it.
Ooh, that was a great comic. That was from not the Rise of Kylo Ren, but that was from the Journey to something.
Is that Age of Resistance?
There we go. Age of Resistance, Kylo Ren comic. He goes to Dagobah, goes into the dark side tree.
Ends up destroying it.
Ends up destroying it because he sees Leia and Han express their love and doubts to him, but he thinks it's too late. And he destroys it out of anger and regret. So we can get something like that with Baylan, where Baylan experiences, and this power could be a way of expressing what Baylan experienced in his past, give the audience some backstory there. Again, I always want to say this. I don't need a full backstory on Baylan. It'll be great, but I just want to become more infatuated with his motivations. And I feel like we got a lot here in terms of like how he's reminiscent of the Order, but disregards it as a complete failure, while Ahsoka just regards it as a failure, but also something that had good stuff with it, fond memories. Yeah. So I want to see what personally happened with Baylan, or Baylan's relationship with Shin, something deeper there. I think we will, because we're getting crumbs each and every episode. So definitely something is going to be revealed in episode 8, whenever he comes across this new power. I also think of like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like, in the concept art for Rise of Skywalker, the eye on Mustafar, like this spider-like creature.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I forget what it's called. Crap. I can't remember.
I know what you're talking about. That spider thing that was like sitting on the head.
Yeah, there's a spider-like thing with the baby-like head or whatever.
That was in this.
Peak. Again, it was something that Kylo Ren, in the early concept of Rise of Skywalker, Kylo Ren came across this, and that spider-like thing is the one that really gets him on his redemption kind of journey. It talks to him about like his commitment to the dark side. It kind of plays a trick on him there.
I think they ended up putting it in a Vader comic.
That's what I'm going to get to. In the Vader comic, Vader comes across it, and it kind of alludes to Vader's past and how he became into the dark side and Anakin's failures there. It's very much a dark side thing. It kind of likes to trick the people that come across it. But I would love for something like that to happen with Balin, where his commitment to this dark side, again, not full dark side now, because he's not full dark side, he's not full Sith, but he has murdered a lot of people, and he's not very good. So just to test him, so somehow similar to how we got Ahsoka's lesson, we could get a dark side version for Balin, some type of lesson there. But either way, I fully expect more conflict between Shin and Balin. I think the relationship will be tested on Tuesday. I think Shin will interact with Sabine. I think that's an easy guess there in next week's episode. And Ahsoka is going to have to make her way onto the planet safe somehow. And Thrawn, I don't know what Thrawn's going to do next week. Are we going to learn more about those catacombs, that cargo?
Maybe.
I don't know, because all my Thrawn theories were just kind of led up to this episode, where it's just like, he'll be back, he'll want to go home, and he does. He's desperate. What does that look like? Is Enoch important at all? Is he another Marok? I don't know.
Maybe. Will we check back in with Hera and the fleet?
I don't think. I think they'll save that for the last minutes of the finale.
Okay.
If at all.
I'm sure.
I'm sure, actually, yeah.
Because I think like the fleet that went to arrest them are going to back them up in some capacity. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully, just the sight of whales is enough to be like, oh yeah, no, they're doing the right thing.
Exactly. Whew. I think I got all my thoughts out. Let me check my notes here. Man, this was a great, interesting episode. So many possibilities. I'm probably more excited for next week than this week now, because now that we got Thrawn back, now that we got Ezra back, all the pieces are together now. Let's see them cook. Let's see them interact with people like Sabine. Thrawn interact with Morgan, more with these witches. Like, what is his relationship with them? Is he close with them? Is he not? Is he playing a trick on them, or is he not? Like, there's still some variables there that Thrawn can maneuver here. But I'm glad to see Ezra back. I'm glad to see Thrawn back. I'm having a fun time with this show. 2 more episodes to go already. Wild.
Penultimate next week.
Penultimate, baby. The penultimate episode is always the craziest. Actually, that's how it is for most well-structured shows. They do the penultimate episode being the craziest.
Yeah.
With Star Wars, with these Marvel episodes, they usually save it all for the finale, more so than the penultimate episode. Finale is when they do all the big battles. We don't usually get a breather episode. With the structure like 8 to 6 episodes, they don't have time for that breather finale. They just do the chaotic finale with the last 10 minutes of breather. Whew. Find me on Twitter at Harris EV9 as we embark on the next 100 episodes of Hyperspace Hype. Let's go.
Go to 1,000, baby.
Let's do it. In the future we have Ahsoka ending. We're gonna do more Star Wars stuff in the future, of course. What is the next Star Wars show?
The next show, Skeleton Crew.
Wow, yeah. It could be Acolyte or Skeleton Crew. One of those.
Seems like there was more footage for Acolyte than Skeleton Crew.
Yeah. Cannot wait for Acolyte. That's gonna be.
Can we get an officially released trailer, please?
Yeah, please. Like, we keep seeing the lightsabers and everything like that. Like, I want to see more from that show. That's official, not leaked.
You remember we were trying to tune into the showcase, and there was like a live stream of this child who was just live streaming onto YouTube on his phone, best he could, and then he obviously didn't record during the actual footage, but like he had it down. It was still like running.
We could hear it.
we hear, we're just like, oh my
Really?
god.
We hear lightsabers igniting. We're like, oh my gosh! And the crowd goes crazy. We hear words and stuff like that. It was, man, Star
We got
Wars.
sniped midway.
He got sniped. Yeah, the Star Wars fans would go through anything to get snippets of footage and news. Again, find me on Twitter, Harris EV9, talking all things. Unfortunately, Big Brother 25. I don't like the direction it's going right now, but it's a fun season overall. Probably the best in years. Survivor and Amazing Race start next week, so my feed's gonna be all that. Anime, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. Mind blown yesterday.
Oh.
This anime is crazy. Crazy. I was going crazy yesterday. It was just amazing. Anime is love, anime is life. And the fall anime season starts just next week. Next week with some very popular anime next Saturday and Friday. And there's going to be so much TV from the next one. Castlevania Nocturne is Friday. Next Friday. Let's go. The Boys, Gen V, Friday.
Oh,
Let's
God.
go. So there's some great shit happening as soon as next week. There we go. High Republic. Great stuff so far. I'm still reading Tales of Light and Life. Great book so far. Fun anthology book so far. So again, follow me on Twitter for all things Star Wars, anime, movies. Yeah.
Follow me _ Time Blazer, making a show called Time Blazer with co-star and creative consultant Evan Harris.
Hell yeah. Playing Ben.
And if you want to see a short season that has time to breathe, I can offer you that with season 1 here before the seasons start to get longer. I'm ambitious, but I think it'll be worth it. Evan, in Star Wars news, I've dipped my toe into an audiobook.
What?
Yeah.
Light of the Jedi again? What are you doing?
No. Maybe eventually I'll swing back, but I started like a canon book that I should have probably experienced by now.
Lost Stars?
It should have been that one, actually.
Fuck!
maybe I should actually pivot. Hold on, because I'm not too far in. No, I began listening to Bloodline.
Yay! Bloodline! Star Wars Bloodline, one of the best Star Wars books written by the great Claudia Gray. How are you liking it so far?
Well, hearing these two opinionated sides of how the New Republic should be run, and Leia being caught in the middle, I was like, oh, this poor woman.
It's like the centrist and somebody else. I forget.
Centrist in the
Republic itself.
No, it was like some. What was it? Some who were like, just like a peaceful government, or some with like a. Or what was it? It was like a self-governing planets or an overarching government.
Exactly. And some of those people, yeah, I won't say anything. But yeah, so it's very interesting politics. Something that the sequel.
What was the group name you just said?
Centrists.
Okay, I was gonna say that, but we already said it.
That was the first thing that came to mind. But yeah, it's some very fascinating politics that I love in Star Wars. With Leia, like you said, Leia in the center of it all. And yeah, it's a great book. Bloodline, one of the top 5 canon Star Wars books, in my opinion. Top 10, because there's been some great ones. I still think Princess of Alderaan might be better, but I think I'm in the minority there.
I love Princess Alderaan.
Princess of Alderaan is so good. That finale, man, heartbreaking.
I remember sitting at the premiere at Celebration for Obi-Wan, and when we saw young Leia there, I immediately was just thinking about Princess Alderaan.
As you should, yeah. Star Wars is great, guys, if you didn't know. So, yep, that's it for me.
And if you don't know,
now you know. God damn it.
We should do Transformers at some point. We said it's on our list.
It is on the list. Yeah.
But yeah. That being said, guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you like button, subscribe, and already ring the bell so you miss future Hyperspace Hype episodes. There's 100. So many. Again, if I recommend any of them, please check out 84 for just pure camaraderie, or if you have any specific episode of the live action TV era or the new animated era from Clone Wars and Bad Batch. We have covered it all. Tales of the Jedi, Visions, everything. Movie announcements, things. So we've done commentaries for every piece of Star Wars movie. We did commentaries for some things for Bad Batch, for all of Visions Volume 1. We did select episodes of Rebels that we felt were key to Ahsoka. We've done so much. It's readily available at your fingertips. Please check it out. And any other, if you're outside of Star Wars and you have interest, Marvel, DC, general film, it's all here. We have so much that you can check out. So if you enjoyed this, you'll probably find something else you enjoy. So please check it out. That being said, if you enjoyed this one, like button, subscribe now, ring the bell, and I hope you have a great day. May the force be with you always.